Before we begin the agenda,
Good afternoon and welcome to the January 5th meeting of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. I would call the meeting to order and ask for our introductory comments, please.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and planning department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the commission and the board will be retained by the secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the district court.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to a roll call for attendance. I'd ask the commissioners please use your microphones for the benefit of those participating virtually. JR?
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. Fox.
Present.
Duell.
Here.
McKay. Green.
Here.
Bill Johnson.
Here.
Blick. Nix. Foster.
Here.
Warren.
Here.
Joe Johnson.
Here.
Miles.
Absent.
Hartman.
Here.
Cunningham. Susie Cunningham.
Here, sorry about that.
Thank you. Williams Bay.
Here.
I show 13 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Next, we will walk through each agenda item to identify which we might be able to take on consent and which have persons present for public comment. For those of you lingering in the lobby area, because of the overflow, we have staff that'll be watching for your willingness to participate. And then we have an overflow upstairs that will be a little more comfortable till we get to your case. So on subdivision items, first is 2.1, subdivision 2022-00059 near 135th Street West and West 45th Street North. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Does anyone in chambers want to hear this case? 135th Street West and 45th Street North. Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. Item 2.2, subdivision item 2022-00068 near 29th Street North.
Madam Chairman,
Virtual, I'm sorry. Is there anyone virtual who wants to hear the case from 135th Street and 45th North? Here. What? 45th Street North and 135th Street West. Okay, I think that's someone who could be muted. Item 2. Subdivision 2022-00068, 29th Street North and 235th Street West. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear that item? Anyone in chambers who would like to hear that item? Anyone participating virtually who would like to hear that item? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent, and I would ask for a motion from the commission. We need to do a separate vote on it.
I move that we approve items 2.1 and 2.2.
second.
Motion from Commissioner Green and a second from Commissioner Blick. Any further discussion? Then all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes 13-0. Item 2.3, 0013. This is a special subdivision regulation update, and I'd like to ask Neil, can you give us a brief overview of the reason for this item so we can understand it before we decide to take it on consent? Mike?
This is in regards to the subdivision jurisdiction of Derby. It extends beyond the Derby city limits to areas located in the county, and any new plats in these locations would be heard by Derby's Planning Commission and not our MAPC. Last year, Derby revised the boundaries of their extraterritorial subdivision jurisdiction authority, and we do have a map for this. There we go. This is being removed from Derby's subdivision jurisdiction. That means any new plats in this area would be heard by our Planning Commission and Subdivision Committee. And this requires a need for an amendment to our subdivision regulations to reflect this change.
And what you're looking for today is simply an approval for public hearing on this item?
That's correct. Setting
Okay,
a
so I
public
don't
hearing.
need to call for public hearing. Does anyone on the commission need more information before a motion on this item?
I was just going to make a motion.
Okay,
I move that we set up the date of February 9th, 2023 for a public hearing to hear this.
motion from Commissioner Green, second from Commissioner Joe Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 13-0. We have no vacation items today, so we'll move on to the public hearing items. Item 4.1, conditional use 2022-00046 at 7707 East Harry. Anyone on the commission want to hear this case? This is nightclub in the city, 7700 East Harry. Okay. I understand we have someone in chambers who wants to hear this case, so we'll hear 4.1. Item 4.2, conditional use 2022-00047, located at 2201 South Broadway. This is a denial request or denial recommendation, so we will hear 4.2. Item 4.3, community unit plan amendment 2022-00054 at 6959 East 21st Street. Anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? Anyone participating virtually want to hear this case? 6959 East 21st Street. We will take that on consent.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, do you want to hear this case at 6959 East 21st Street?
I applied for this case. Does that mean I have to speak, or am I good?
No, we're going to take this item on consent. You might want to hang out in case we have any questions for you after after we vote on the item.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay? Item 4.4, Community Unit Plan 2022-00055 at 8535 West 21st Street. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear this case? This is item 4.4. Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? Philip, do I see you? Anyone participating virtually want to hear this case for a amendment to CUP West 21st Street? Okay, hearing none, we will take that on consent. Item 4.5, Planned Unit Development 2022-00023, located near East 14th Street North and Hillside. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? 14th Street and Hillside. Anyone participating virtually want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take 4.5 on consent. Item 4.6, zoning case 2022-00061 at 2639 South Meridian. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case?
I'd like to hear the
Okay,
case.
we will hear 4.6. 4.7, zoning case 2022-00065 at 39th Street North and North Fairview. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? Fairview and 29th Street North. Anyone participating virtually want to hear this case? We will take item 4.7 on consent. Item 4.8, zoning case 2022-00066 at 11,924 West Taft Street. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? 11,924 West Taft. Anyone participating virtually want to hear this case? We will take item 4.8 on consent. 4.9, zoning case 2022-00067, North Woodlawn and 37th Street. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? Anyone participating virtually want to hear this case?
Yes, this is Kramer Morris. I'd like to hear that.
Okay, we'll hear 4.9. Item 4.10, zoning case 2022-00068, located near 47th Street South and Hydraulic. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Okay, we'll have a staff question. Does anyone in chambers want to hear this case? Yes? Okay, we have public comment. We'll hear this case. Zoning item 2022-00069 at 135th Street West and Central Avenue. Does anyone on the commission want to hear this case? Anyone in chambers want to hear this case? Yes. I thought I might feel a rush of air, actually, as you raised your hands. Okay, we will hear that case.
Motion to approve 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, or 7, and 4.8.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blick.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Foster. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 13-0. There is no BZA agenda today, so we will return to the public hearing items. And our first case is 4.1. So if we could have the staff report to begin, please. I also want to check, do we have applicant or agent for 4.1 present with us?
Yes, she's here.
Okay. And 4.2, applicant or agent present?
She
check
said
on
you
it?
should be joining online.
Okay. And 4.6,
Yes, online.
4.8. Applicant or agent, oh. 4.9, we have applicant or agent present. And 4.10, applicant or agent present. Got it, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Christine. And 4.11? Applicant or agent present for 4.11. Okay, so there is present. Thank you. All righty, thank you. Sorry, Christina, to interrupt. You may proceed with your staff report.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christina Reith, Associate Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. This is case number CON 2022-00046. I have the agent with me here today, Carolina Narvaez, and she is requesting a nightclub in the city on a property zoned LI Limited Industrial District. The site size is 1.1 acres in size, and it's located at 7707 East Harry Street, and we are recommending approval with conditions. So the applicant will use one suite of the building that you see outlined in black there for an event center. So they're requesting this conditional use in order to open an event space that will not be rented out on a regular basis, but it may provide alcohol and live music or entertainment. So when you have alcohol and when you have live music and entertainment, that per the zoning code is defined as nightclub in the city. So the need for the conditional use at this location, if you can see my mouse here, is due to the proximity of MF 29 multifamily residential district zoning, which is in green here, and SF 5 single family residential district zoning. And they're located approximately 245 feet north of the subject property. The residential zoning districts are behind some of the commercial zoning fronting East Harry Street. So if you see this red here, that is commercial zoning, and behind that is the residential zoning. So when you look at the supplementary use regulations for the Unified Zoning Code, they require conditional use for a nightclub in the city when it is within 300 feet of a residential zoning district. Paul, could we skip to the site plan, please, just so I can talk about parking a little bit? Can I use the keyboard? Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is the site plan. What's in black here is not part of the event space, but what's in white here is part of the proposed event space. And you can see some of the parking here on the west and south sides. And so they're available as part of a shared parking plan. So they'll have to submit a shared parking plan prior to the issuance of any building permits. Just a little bit of case history on this. Back in 2016, the same applicants applied for a conditional use for what was then called a tavern and drinking establishment and an entertainment establishment. However, that case was deferred indefinitely at the district advisory board meeting, and then it was deferred at the MAPC hearing. The request is in conformance with the community investments plan because a 2035 future growth concept map identifies this area as appropriate for commercial and land uses. The request is also in conformance with the locational guidelines of the comprehensive plan. The development guideline, or the development pattern guideline, states that higher residential uses and neighborhood serving retail and office uses should buffer lower density uses from major and commercial and employment centers and industrial uses. So if we look across at East Harry Street, I mentioned that one-story medical clinic and a one-story fast food restaurant. So these buildings, along with East Harry Street, buffer the nightclub and the city uses from the subject site, from the lower density residential dwellings, which are just north of the fast food clinic and the fast food restaurant and the medical clinic. There we go. The conditional use is also in conformance with the Wichita Places for People plan. The subject site is located near the community core that's identified in the Places for People plan, located at East Harry Street and South Rock Road. Small-scale commercial uses, such as event centers, or in this case, nightclub in the city, is considered an appropriate building type for the area. Based on the information available prior to the public hearings, planning staff recommends that this request be approved, subject to the following conditions. They have to adhere to the supplementary use regulations. They have to be developed in conformance with the approved site plan and in compliance with all city ordinances. The parking lot shall be kept free of all trash and debris. No loitering, congregating, or excessive noise. No loudspeakers or entertainment outside, which includes dancing. They have to submit a shared parking plan. And the operation of nightclub in the city shall be limited to 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. If you guys on the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission can see, I left a letter that was submitted to the Planning Department in opposition to this proposed nightclub in the city. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Any questions for staff?
Yeah, did that letter come out in an email to those of us at home?
No, but I can email it to you.
That'd be great.
Okay, then any other questions from the commission? Then I'd call for the applicant or agent, please. State your name and address, and you'll have 10 minutes to tell us about your project.
She declines to speak at this time.
Okay. Can we ask questions of the applicant at this time?
Yes.
Okay. Susie, have you received the letter, or can we get that to the commissioner too?
I'm still checking.
No, I haven't sent it yet,
Okay.
but I can do that.
Maybe Philip will send it. Do any of the commission have questions for the applicant? Mr. Blick?
I just have a question for the applicant. Do you agree with all the stated conformities?
Yes, she agrees to the hours
Right,
and
thank
the
you.
conditions of approval.
Thank you.
Will security be present during the times of events?
Yes, there will be security on site.
Do we have anyone present in chambers who wants to speak on this item representing the public? Okay, will you come forward, please? State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to speak to the commission.
Yes, my name is Charlie Weaver. I'm the senior student at Kim's Academy of Taekwondo, which is located contiguous to the proposed nightclub venue on South Longfellow. Kim's Academy's been located in Wichita since 1973, so this is our 50th anniversary. We've been at this location since 1989, built the building there and have occupied it continuously since. Our attorney, student member, Mr. Hartenstein, provided a letter with our objections, which are basically the same as led to the decision in 2016 to defer having nightclub next door. We're concerned about The travel, we're concerned about people coming in and out. Our parking lot is contiguous. It's associated, it's to the south and east of the building, and we expect that there will be people parking in our lot with the potential for, wear and tear and damage. We've had some concern about damage and vandalism. Anecdotally, we have experienced some of this when there have been large gatherings at the venue as it exists. Our school has a lot of young students. We have a number of classes in the evenings where young students do come and participate. There are safety issues. We're concerned about the security. These issues are identified in the letter that was submitted. And I would be glad to answer any questions if there are any from the commissioners or anybody else.
Any questions for the speaker? Commissioner Foster?
Let me make sure I understand. The Taekwondo studio is to the south of this parcel?
If I can point to this is the Taekwondo studio.
Okay. So, that large parking lot to the south is not the Taekwondo parking, south of the Taekwondo studio?
This is not this area.
All right, is there any way, like a fence or bollards or some other way that the parking lots could be separated so people using the event center would be less likely to monopolize the school's parking lot?
It would be impractical because the shared trash service comes in through here, and we've got the trash cans here.
If you can, there is a mouse on the podium. If you can use that to point, then we can still hear what you're saying, Mr.
Okay.
Reaver. Sorry.
Okay,
Thank you.
So this is the shared parking lot here. I mean, this is our parking lot here, and the trash service would be here. They access down this way, and for us to block this off would impede our access to our own trash service.
Thank you.
Any other Commissioner Green?
Yeah, so the parking lot that is owned by the property that is requesting this zoning change, do you have permission? Does the school have permission to use that parking lot, or is that just an assumed permission?
No, we don't use their parking lot. Let me make that clear. We don't use that parking lot. We're concerned about them spilling over into our parking areas here and in the front of the school.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the speaker? Commissioner Williams Bay.
What are your hours?
We generally operate, we have classes in the afternoon and in the evening up until 9 o'clock.
And what days of the week?
We're open every day. Sundays, there are no evening classes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Any other questions for the speaker? Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to speak on this item? Go ahead, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Stephen Sollenschrop, Legacy Bank, 7711 East Herring. We recently purchased the neighboring building to this subject property. And we'd have the same concerns, whether it's parking, overlap in hours. Our hours are 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, 9 to noon on Saturday. But beyond parking, it's the safety and security of the neighborhood and area. So,
Steve, can you use the pointer to show which building you're going to occupy?
this one here,
Okay.
directly to the we share the driveway off of Harry Street with the subject property.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions for this speaker? Commissioner Blick?
Have you seen any activity in that location right now?
We purchased it less than a month ago, and we're going through a remodel, so we've not seen any activity yet.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Warren, did you have a question? Okay. Any other questions for the speaker? Thank you, Mr. Sloantrop. Anyone else in chambers who'd like to speak on this item, please proceed to the podium.
I'm Rodney Horton. I'm at 7613 East Harry, so I'm on the opposite side. Also own 2 duplexes that are.
Can you, excuse me, can you speak into the microphone so we can
sorry.
hear you online?
I can't see where this. I own this property here, which is adjoining, has a parking lot, share the same spillover concerns. I also own 2 duplexes right here that are the closest to the subject property, right behind the Sonic, behind the buffer, if you will. So I have concerns over here. This is being marketed right now. We have about 9 parking spots in front. It's automotive use, and we're worried about, all the same things, including bottles and other broken things. But basically, it's not something I'm super interested in having in the neighborhood.
Questions for the speaker? Commissioner Blick?
Mr. Horton, have you seen any activity in that building right now? Are they using it as a nightclub, or is there anything else? Or?
No, there's just some for lease signs up right now.
Okay, sounds good.
This building, my building's being marketed right now. So I do get a lot of questions about what's going to happen with that building, what's next door. So it definitely would impact the marketability of my property.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Green has a question for you also.
Is there any parking between the subject property and your property?
There's an opening here there was a dumpster there from a previous tenant, but this is wide open. And there's, again, I have about half of this parking lot. You can see where it's split. The parcel's kind of split, but this building's got about 9 or 10 spots. So it would be almost for sure probably used.
So is there any parking between your building and the subject property's building, running north and south between your 2 buildings there?
Currently, there's a gate right here. So if that remains closed, then they wouldn't be able to park here, but potentially, depending on the future use of the building. But right now, there is a gate in place so that wouldn't be able to happen.
So would that gate then preclude people that are using that building from using the parking on your property?
No, that gate's for everything that's south of it. This is wide open from their property straight across.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this speaker? Commissioner Williams Bay.
Could you install a gate or fence to stop that from happening?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Commissioner Foster?
I'm just trying to clarify here, on the red rectangle that you can see, the left line, on the left side of that rectangle, is there actually a fence along the boundary between your lot and the parcel under discussion along that red line?
No, the fence starts about where the beginning of the building starts. There's a gate that comes across, and then there's a fence here. There's nothing north of it.
Okay, so the sort of southeast corner of your property that shows on the aerial with some vehicles parked in it, that's fenced off, but the rest of your parking lot is not. Am I getting that right?
No, from that southeast corner all the way to the front of the building is fenced off. And then that little portion north is not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Blick?
Mr. Horton, so what you're saying is that section up there, you could put a fence, but it would be out of pocket, and then they could also park over into those 9 spaces that you were talking about?
Yeah, there's, they can pull right in there and walk right down the sidewalk around the fence.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you for your testimony. Oh, Commissioner Cunningham?
Yeah, to the speaker, that looks like a driveway along Harry. Does that service both your property and the nightclub's property?
It's squarely on my property. Unfortunately, it is being used that way. Sometimes it wasn't being used that way when there was a dumpster there, but right now they are using it that way.
Okay.
Any other questions for the speaker? Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to speak on this item? Proceed to the podium, please. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Greg Margers. I own and am CEO and president of B&G Gaming. We occupy the building just to the south of the medical area. I'll try to get that for you. This building right here, it's kind of an L-shaped building. We've been there 22 years. Pretty much it's been a very quiet neighborhood. We've had some vandalism. My property was broken into twice. I lost over $35,000 in inventory. Security system was ripped out of the wall. A number of things that happened during a vandalism and theft. But I am also concerned, and I do not agree with the proposed area for this nightclub to be going into, for the mere fact that the parking is right now, I don't know where they're coming up with the math on this, 2 persons per car. I just don't think that happens. I think everybody drives their car to a nightclub. Maybe they'll take a date, but, you know, I don't agree with that math, respectively. We need to be concerned with the neighborhood in the fact that overflow parking is going to affect our buildings. Bottles being thrown, trash. Also, I just spent $6,000 to get my parking lot repaved, a hole in it, not repaved, but just a huge hole, because people have to use that area to turn around and go back down to Harry if they miss something, if they turn on Broadmoor there. So I'm also concerned about that because it's just another ongoing cost that doesn't need to be there. And when people come to look for this location, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to be turning around on our property and using that for the wear and tear. And if you've priced parking lots lately, they're not cheap. Again, I proposed the idea of a nightclub in the neighborhood there, and I'm welcome to take any questions from anybody.
Any questions for the speaker? Is there currently events happening in this building already, and that's where you've experienced some of the?
There is. I'm up there quite a bit in the evening, afternoon and evening. There will be in the bank people parking over there. There will be in the area where the Taekwondo and there's an aerospace area through there that people are parking in that area for these events. They have very few parking spots of their own, to be quite honest with you. I think 7 or 8 of them on facing Harry Street. So when these people show up for these dances and events and showers and whatnot, they got to park somewhere.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people out there in the parking lot.
Okay, you've answered my question.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions for the speaker? Anyone else in chambers who would like to speak on this item? Anyone participating virtually who would like to speak on this item? Then, hearing none, the applicant, you've heard the concerns expressed. Can you please come to the podium and respond? You have 2 minutes.
She would like to emphasize that this is an event, it's an event center that may provide alcohol, and that's triggering the use for the nightclub in the city. Yes,
How many parking spaces does she have now there?
I would have to, let me count in the site plan.
Looked like about 37, between 35 and 40 parking spaces with a couple of handicap.
Yeah, so between 35 and 40 parking spaces.
And what's the requirement for the size of her building?
So it's one person, or one parking space per 2 occupants.
And the occupancy she expects?
And I didn't count the spots that are on the north side of the building, which there were some up there too.
Well, the current occupancy for the building is about 200 people.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant?
I do.
ahead.
Christine, item number 6 in your recommendations for approval, a shared parking plan shall be submitted prior to issuance of the occupancy permits. What does that entail? It doesn't sound like his neighbors want to share anything, share their parking. That's
This
one
is
of their
a-
concerns.
Sure, this is a shared parking plan with the other tenants within that building,
Oh,
not with the
Okay.
adjacent buildings.
all right.
So it's expected that 37 spots would serve how many other spots in the building? Plus the event center?
I'm not entirely sure. I can't speak to that at the moment.
Okay. Does the applicant know how many other rental units she's planning to work with within that building?
Yeah. She says it's under the same ownership, so she'll work with the landlord to submit that shared site parking plan.
Okay.
One more thing. So we're talking about more than the 200, possible 200 occupancy because there's going to be more businesses with occupants in it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? I would then bring this back to the
I
commission.
have a question. On
Oh,
this,
okay.
on this site plan we're looking at, there's the one area that has the red 100 on it, and then there's the black area. Which area is the nightclub?
The nightclub in the city is suite number 100, the white space.
Okay, so there's quite a bit more area to that building than just that nightclub.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Let's bring it back to the commission. What's your, how would we like to start the discussion? Commissioner Foster?
I was thinking this might work before I realized that there were other potential tenants needing to use the available parking. I think parking is a significant issue in this. It makes me disinclined to approve a use as episodic and heavy as a nightclub in the city use.
Any other discussion or input on the item, Commissioner Hartman?
I tend to agree with that too. It just doesn't look like there's near enough parking.
Commissioner Blick? Oh, I'm sorry, Christina.
Oh, I think it was Susie Cunningham.
Oh, Susie, Commissioner Cunningham, did you have a question or comment?
Well, I was going to say, I agree. I think there's not enough parking for the multiple businesses in there. And if we did happen to pass this, it really should be their responsibility to put up gates or to block the people whose parking lots are going to be at risk, not their neighbors. But I probably won't support this.
Commissioner Blick?
Anyway.
Yeah, I have some concerns also, especially with the parking and the adjacent property owners with their concerns. So I'd like to entertain a motion to deny based off the findings that with the parking restrictions, the additional tenants that could be in the building, and we foresee that in the future it could be a major parking issue.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blick, a second from Commissioner Foster to deny. Any further discussion from the commission on the motion? Hearing none, I would call for a vote. So a vote of aye would be to deny this applicant's case. All in favor of the motion as stated, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed to the denial, please use the same sign. Hearing none, the motion to deny passes 13-0. Thank you for your participation, and we'll give a moment for the room to clear of those who provided testimony. Yeah, okay. That gives us a few seats in the room for those standing. The next case, item 4.2, conditional use 2022-00047. Can we have the staff report on this case, please, Aaron?
Madam Chair, before, do we want to double check to see if the applicant
Yes.
has made it online?
Is the applicant available online at this time? This is for the zoning case on South Broadway, or the conditional use case on South Broadway. Are you there?
Yes.
Can you confirm? Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Aaron. Aaron.
Good afternoon, Erin Ebach with the Planning Department. Con 2022-00047 is a request for a conditional use to permit vehicle and equipment sales and vehicle repair on property zoned LC Limited Commercial District located on the southwest corner of South Broadway and East Kincaid Avenue. Vehicle repair is permitted by right in the LC district. However, vehicle sales, which will be the primary use on the site, is permitted only by a conditional use in the LC district and is subject to supplementary use regulations. The subject site and area surrounding the site are located within the established central area and south central neighborhood plan areas. Development at the intersection of South Broadway Avenue and East Kincaid is generally comprised of low to moderate intensity commercial development fronting the arterial, with moderate density residential development to the east and west. Limited commercial zoning abuts the subject property to the north, south, and east, and property is zoned SF5 single-family residential and B multifamily residential abut the property to the west. There are 2 used car lots that are operating in close proximity to the subject site. One is a 1/10 of a mile north, and the other is a 0.15 mile north of the site respectively. Paul, if we could go to the site plan, please. The applicant plans to develop the site with an office structure in the center that will serve as the sales office as well as the repair area for the vehicles. And then this current site plan shows a total of 39 parking stalls, 12 of which will be allocated for customer use and 27 stalls which will be used for allocated for vehicle display. We could go to the land use map, please, Paul. Thank you. The requested conditional use is found to be in partial conformance with adopted policies and plans. So the 2035 future growth map does designate the site as appropriate for commercial development. However, the South Central Plan, specifically the locational guidelines of the South Central Neighborhood Plan, specifically list used car lots as a least desirable land use for the area, and they strongly discourage conditional use permits that would allow any of the least desirable uses. In regard to the Wichita Places for People plan, the request is in nonconformance with the plan's stated goal of uses contributing to the overall walkability of the area and promoting neighborhood serving businesses along the plan area. In regard to the public services, I did want to note that Wichita Transit does serve the site. The staff report previously was missing a line there, so that is an error, and transit does serve the site. Staff is recommending the denial of this request based on the findings outlined in the staff report. Should MAPC adopt additional findings to support the recommendation of this request, staff has recommended a number of conditions, including adherence to the supplementary use regulations, limiting the number of vehicles for sale on the site to 27 in total, as well as improvements including parking barriers, which would be required on the site, the prohibition of display signs, temporary display signs, as well as elevated platforms, and the prohibition of amplification systems and outside storage of any salvaged materials. DAB 3 heard this case yesterday on January 4th and voted to recommend denial of the request. And if Paul, if we could go through the site photos, please. So you can see the subject site is currently undeveloped. Next photo, please. The property north of the site zoned LC Limited Commercial. Next photo, please. Another LC commercial zoning property east of the site. Next photo, please. And continued. Next photo, please. This property is zoned LC and south of the site. This is an assisted living facility, or assisted living apartments, I should say. Next photo, please. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Can you clarify the distance? Windy City Motors operates a used car dealership. This is on page 2 of your report. It says 0.15 miles away, but it's it's perhaps 1.5, not 0.15 miles. Windy City Motors, just trying to figure out the proximity of Windy City.
So it's 0.15 miles away.
So 0.1, it's
Yes.
15 hundredths of a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So both of the two dealerships are approximately a tenth of a mile away.
They were in place prior to the Places for People plan, is that accurate?
That is correct. Windy City Motors was approved in 1987, and European Autos were approved in 1963 and then expanded in 2005.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff at this time? Commissioner Blick?
Yes.
So I just want to confirm, you said the neighborhood plan, the South Central plan, it does not fit within that plan that they established. Do you know when they made that plan out?
I believe it was adopted in 2019.
2019, and then also the Places for People plan, it says it's a non-conformance to be able to have that. Is that what you said also?
Yes, so the request was found to be in partial conformance with the comprehensive plan because of that commercial land use. But then when looking at the People for Places plan, as well as the South Central Neighborhood plan, it was found to be in non-conformance with both of those adopted plans and policies.
And DAB 3 denied it also?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? If not, then we'd call for the applicant or agent. Please state your name and address, and you have 10 minutes to tell us about your project. Are you still there? Make sure you unmute so we can hear you.
Yes. You hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please state your name and address and then tell us about your project.
Yeah, my name is Rahim Al-Shamari, address 7706 East Champion Circle, Wichita, Kansas 67226. And I want to build a 3-car garage in this lot and make it like a car dealer. That's my project.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Yes, Commissioner Foster.
Have you ever considered some other option for developing this property besides a car lot?
No, I don't have any other.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone who in chambers who would like to make public comment on this case? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, my name is Janet Price. Live at 2010 South Water Street, Wichita, Kansas, 67213. I was a part of developing the new neighborhood plan when we did that in 2019 and got the approval for it through the city. Car lots are one of the least desirable businesses for that area, primarily because there are already 19 used car lots between Kellogg and Pawnee, and adding this one would make the 20th one in that short area. We had people present yesterday at DAB who also made the request, but were unable to be here today to state that we really don't want another car lot on South Broadway in South Central neighborhood. We'd appreciate you taking the plan into account so that that doesn't happen. Thank you.
To support some of the commissioners, could you tell us one or two of the improvements you've seen since implementing your 2019 plan?
Right now, we're working on a new coffee shop at Harry and Broadway. At Lincoln and Broadway, the SOCI group, who is a neighboring movement that has been working locally and nationally, moved into the office on the southeast corner of Broadway and Lincoln. And we have a couple other people who we've been working with about alternative businesses in the area. And would really like to be able to see some other kinds of businesses come into our area besides used car lots and used tire stores.
Any questions for the speaker? Commissioner Blick?
Janet, I've read over your neighborhood plan. It's very intense, and it's a lot of hard work you guys put in it. Broadway has always been traditionally, it's always had car lots and motels, and I know that's big in that plan is to reduce those. And what you guys have done, I've seen in your previous cases that you brought before our board that with car lots and everything else. Question I have for you is, you did say there's about 19 car lots. Do you know how many other car lots that are not active, that's open land that were car lots, that's up for lease if somebody wanted to move into it? Have you seen very many of them? Is there availability to, somebody could just fill in a car lot already?
I think most of them are being used, but there might be one or two that aren't active right now. I know there's one that they were trying to get started on a couple blocks up on the west side there. I want to say Funkston and Broadway, which would be maybe 5 blocks north on the west side. They have a sign up, but they've never gotten any cars or gone any farther than painting the building.
Great. Thank you, Janet, and thanks for all of your hard work on the neighborhood plan.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to speak on this topic? Is there anyone participating virtually who'd like to comment on this case? Then I would bring it back to the applicant for, do you have a question, Commissioner Foster? I'd ask the applicant if you have anything to respond to the concerns that you've heard expressed.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I'll bring this back to the commission for discussion or a motion. Commissioner Foster.
Broadway used to be part of a major highway across the continent before the development of the interstate system. And maybe it made sense back then to have this concentration of car lots and tire stores and hotels, but it doesn't make sense anymore, and this neighborhood is working hard to change and become more pedestrian friendly and more of a neighborhood instead of a pass through the city. So I would make a motion to deny this request. I think the owner can utilize this mostly undeveloped lot for a variety of other purposes besides another used car lot.
I have a motion from Commissioner Foster, second from Commissioner Blick. Any further discussion? Commissioner Green?
So we're denying the recommendation?
We're
Okay,
denying,
'cause the recommendation
Okay.
was to deny.
so you want to clarify your motion?
My motion is to deny the application, which would be
Staff's recommendation.
To support, to support the recommendation to deny?
You got,
Okay, we accept that as your motion, and you accept the
Yes.
alteration to the motion, Commissioner Blick. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 13-0. Thank you for your testimony. That takes us to item number 4.6, thank you. I'm trying to move us on. 4.6, Christina.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Christina Reith,
That was
Associate
two.
Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. This is case number zone 2022-00061. The applicant is online here with us today, Nadi Subair. The current zoning is SF5 Single Family Residential District, and they are proposing NR Neighborhood Retail District. As you recall, we heard this case on December 1st. They were originally requesting LC Limited Commercial District. And this is a 0.41 acre property that's located at 2639 South Meridian. And they're proposing multifamily homes and commercial space, possibly some retail, and we are recommending approval. So the subject site here, as you can see, there's two parcels. The parcel to the north is undeveloped and surprisingly has never been developed. We looked through historic aerials and we haven't seen anything developed on that property. And the parcel to the south is developed with a garage and a parking lot. The applicant has not submitted a site plan, has not specified parking. However, the neighborhood retail district allows multifamily housing along with a limited number of lower intensity commercial uses in an area surrounded primarily by single family residential dwellings. So uses permitted by right in neighborhood retail include multifamily housing at a maximum of 21.8 dwelling units per acre, restaurants without drive-throughs, personal care services, and general retail. And so after the conversation for LC Limited Commercial, we voted to defer the case to today. And I had a conversation with the applicant, and we agreed upon NR Neighborhood Residential District because of the intensity of uses allowed in neighborhood retail district, and the height restrictions remain the same for SF5 single family residential, which is what it is now, and neighborhood retail district. The height restrictions are the same at 35 feet. Because the subject site is located on a major street and abuts residential zoning on all sides, the applicant must submit a landscape plan prior to the issuance of building permits. Additionally, a solid screening fence or wall will be required to separate the non-residential development from the abutting residential uses, and buffer trees must also be planted. If we look at the site plan again, there's actually if you see the sliver here between the two boxes, there's a platted alley that currently cannot be developed across. The parcels will have to be developed separately unless the applicant decides to vacate that alley. So the character of the neighborhood is primarily residential. As you can see in this aerial here, there's a lot of single-family houses. However, if you look to the south here, within 1/4 mile south of the subject site is LC Limited Commercial District zoning. At the very bottom of this cul-de-sac here, we see that limited commercial zoning. And then in the green here, we see MF29 multifamily residential district zoning. So commercial development is not new to the area. The requested zone change is not in conformance with the Community Investments Plan's 2035 Future Growth Concept Map. However, it is in conformance with the plan's locational guidelines. So the 2035 Future Growth Concept Map identifies the area as appropriate for residential uses, and they are proposing some multifamily residential, but with that commercial in there, that's what makes it not in conformance. And then the plan states that the development pattern of the plan states that higher density residential uses and neighborhood serving retail office uses should buffer lower density residential uses from major commercial and employment centers and industrial uses. So what we see here is neighborhood retail, multifamily residential development, and that would serve as a buffer between the SF5 single family residential district and the limited commercial zoning to the south. The requested zoning change is in conformance with the Wichita Places for People Plan. However, it's not in conformance with the development pattern. So if we look at the current conditions of the Places for People Plan, it's located within an area of opportunity. And according to the Places for People Plan, these areas need strategic investment, both public and private, to assist in redefining and reinvigorating the area. So rezoning this property as neighborhood retail would permit that small scale infill needed for redevelopment. And for the development pattern, it's 1/4 mile north of a neighborhood hub at South Meridian and West Pawnee. So the requested zoning change is outside of the neighborhood hub. So based on the information available at this time the staff report was prepared, it is recommended that the zoning change application be approved. This has not gone to DAB yet. It goes DAB on Monday. And I sent you guys an email with an opposition letter. It was from SF5 to LC when it first came to the MAPC on December 15th. However, their opposition remains the same. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Blake.
I got staff for inspection. So underneath in our neighborhood, can you have a body shop? Can you have an automotive shop?
In neighborhood retail?
Yeah. You can't work on vehicles and as a retail shop or anything like that in that classification?
Negative.
Okay.
Commissioner Green.
Christina, you made some mention about the alley that is there. Looking at the aerial, it doesn't appear as though anybody is using that alley as an alley. Is it still functioning as an alley, or has it been vacated at some time?
It hasn't been vacated yet, but according to the subdivision plat, it's a platted alley. So, yeah.
Any additional questions for staff?
One, on the west, that row of houses along Dallas, are those newer homes?
I believe
How old are those homes?
I would put them around the 1950s.
Oh. But there's no buffer between those on the west. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? If not, then we call for the applicant. Just please state your name and address, and you have 10 minutes to tell us about your plan.
Yeah, my name is Was Subar. I'm representing my wife, Enyadikila Subar. And
Are you the applicant? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is that on the left-hand side of the, which is the south side, we're trying to use it for a neighborhood retail. And the right side, which is the east side, we're trying to use it for residential. It's two separate lots. And also, we are aware of the alley. So the lot is going to be developed separately. So we are aware of the alley. That's number one. And also, it's going to be an area of opportunity for the for the neighborhood, and also to beautify the neighborhood. So moreover, the property has been vacant for over a decade, so which has not been used. So also we are aware of the conditions and we agree with the restriction and also with the condition. And, as we couple, we love landscaping as well. So we agree to all that. So, and also, that's going to be improve economic opportunity and also proximity for neighbors around to, after the retail store has been developed and they can, make use of it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Blick.
Mr. Suburb, how long have you owned the property for?
It's been close to a year now.
About a year. And what are you doing in the property right now?
Actually, right now, we are doing nothing on the property right now.
So you have about 20 cars that do not have tags and they're parked in grass in the fenced area. They did not show staff hasn't showed the photos yet around the property line. What are those cars used for?
And I just use it for my overflow because I own a dealership. So I just park my cars over there, some of my overflow over there for right now, just temporary.
So you're not using it to take vehicles apart or body parts off of a car or automotive?
No, I don't do no. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Do you have photos, Christina, of the
Yes.
current use?
Yes. So yeah, as you can see, there's some cars in the background and then the existing garage, that's fronting South Meridian.
Okay.
Do you have, you have a side photo with all the cars?
I don't believe so, but I can check here. No, I mean, you can only see that one car on the very right of the photo.
Okay. Do we have anyone present in chambers who would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone participating virtually who would like to speak on this item? Okay. Bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Warren.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Warren,
I'll second it.
a second from Commissioner Bill Johnson. Discussion. Commissioner Blick?
I have some concerns because I personally went out into this lot and I watched them while it's parked on the side of the vehicle or on the side of the street and watched them take apart a car bodywork. And I see that they have that white barn that they're using as a shop. So I have some concerns with the integrity of what I've just been told and what I see. And then the photos that weren't provided, there's about 20 vehicles without tags and they're parking in the grasses and everything else. So I don't really agree with what the intent is supposed to be going to be served. So that's my biggest concern with that. So I will not be subordinate, and I would actually entertain a substitute motion for denial based off the proximity of how close the house is, the screening that's going to be needed, and also the actual intent that's and purpose is actually supposed to be used for this. So I have some deeply concerns with this and what I've seen versus what is being shown through staff report. And I make a motion for denial.
I have a motion to deny, substitute motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Yes, from Joe Johnson.
Second.
Joe Johnson seconds the substitute motion. Should we do a roll call vote on the substitute motion?
Yep.
The roll call vote will be on the substitute motion to deny the application based on current use, as Mr. Blick stated. Ready for discussion? Commissioner Williams Day?
So a yea to deny.
Yes, the substitute motion is denied, and we have any discussion on the substitute motion at this point? Commissioner Williams Bay?
Yes, will this garage be removed? Or will it stay?
Yes, garage is going to be removed. So what we're trying to do is that on one side is going to be for residential. We're building a residential of like two bedroom, and the other side is going to be for a neighborhood retail. So the garage is going to be removed, and also those two lots will be developed separately. And we are aware there's an alley on the property, so it's going to be two separate. It's two separate lots, two separate developments.
So this is Nadia. I also want to add that the whole point of us coming to request a zoning change is to redevelop that property. The original design of the property is a garage and a parking lot. So after speaking to the staff, and they said, no, we cannot make use of the current design, I decided to put in an application for use of something that would be visible and acceptable to the community. So that is the plan, is to completely remove the garage and redevelop that area. But it doesn't seem like that is aligned with the committee.
So the plan would be to remove all the vehicles and the shed and to no longer dismantle vehicles there.
That's the plan. If not, we're going to be here requesting
Just a yes or no yes or no answer. Your plan is to dismantle vehicles there as was observed?
Yes.
Yeah, just not, no.
I don't think she understood.
Yeah, I don't think she understood. Are you planning to continue dismantling vehicles at that location?
Absolutely not. I thought the plan is to remove the vehicle and remove the garage and develop what we want to, like a home, a residential home with retail shops opportunity.
Okay, thank you. You answered my question. Commissioner Green?
Have we had any complaints on that property? Property being used for repair and or body repair?
Not that I'm aware of.
We have the one letter that stated that was the concern, I believe. Okay.
And those complaints would go through Access Wichita. We wouldn't get them necessarily.
Yeah, you're right, but I think we have some staff here that would be aware if there were any complaints in that area regarding the concerns that were presented in the letter.
Okay. Commissioner Warren?
We've had this property before us before, and we denied it with the idea that we'd come up with a better plan, and this is a better plan. So.
I'm not sure we denied it. We just delayed it, didn't we? To give them time to, yes.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion before I call for a vote on the substitute motion? Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor of the substitute motion to deny the zoning application, please signify by saying, let's do a roll call, I think. Yeah, might as well. Okay, here we go. Roll call, JR.
All right, for the substitute motion, Fox.
Yes. Aye.
Duel.
No.
McKay.
No.
Green.
No.
Bill Johnson.
No.
Blick.
Aye.
Nix.
No.
Foster.
No.
Warren.
No.
Joe Johnson.
Aye.
Hartman.
No.
Cunningham.
No.
Williams Bay.
No.
10 noes to 3 ayes.
Substitute motion fails. We'll proceed to the original motion to approve the zoning application. Roll call vote. That was Commissioner Green on the motion, and I forget the second. Oh,
It was Warren
Commissioner Warren on the motion
Bill Johnson on
and
the
Bill
second.
Johnson on the second. Thank you. My memory is short today.
For the original motion,
But he does. That helps a lot. For the original motion,
Fox,
no.
Duell,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Blick,
No.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Warren,
Aye.
Joe Johnson,
No.
Hartman,
Yes.
Cunningham, Cunningham,
Yes.
Williams Bay.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-3.
That's correct.
Thank you for your testimony. Next item on our agenda, 4.9.
Wasn't that just a question by you, Mr. Green? 4-9?
No, we had an individual online who wanted to hear this
Yeah,
case.
we have someone online who wants to hear the case. Philip, this is zoning case 2022-0067. Do we still have someone online who wants to hear this case?
Yes, this is
Okay.
Kermit Morris.
We'll take the staff report first. Go ahead, Philip.
Okay. Good afternoon, Philip Zevenbergen with the Planning Department. Zone 2267 is a request to zone property that's located north of East 37th Street on the east side of North Woodlawn. It's currently zoned neighborhood retail, and they're requesting limited commercial zoning. There's also a protective overlay that was submitted as part of this application, mostly because the reason they're asking for the rezone is not to permit a new use. They're intending to put a financial institution, which is allowed in neighborhood retail. They're submitting the request to rezone to limited commercial to afford the property additional sign rights, to allow a bigger sign on the property. The intended applicant, Paul, can you go to the sign exhibit? Is Capital Federal Bank. They have a standard prototype sign that they have at all of their locations or Credit Union of America, I apologize. A standard size sign that they use at all of their locations around Wichita. And it does not fit within the parameters of the neighborhood retail allowances in the sign code, which would only allow a 32 square foot sign for a single tenant and restrict the height to 22 feet. This sign has 97 square feet and would fit within the 25-foot height requirement in limited commercial. So that is the reason for the request for the limited commercial zoning. The protective overlay limits the uses to those permitted by right in neighborhood retail. So they're not asking for any type of additional uses on the property. It's protecting the original zoning. The protective overlay would restrict the sign area to 100 square feet. That is because in limited commercial zoning, the calculation for sign area is based off of the linear frontage along the arterial, which would allow them upwards of 250 square feet of signage. And since their sign is only 97 square feet in area, they're willing to restrict themselves to 100 square feet to not allow an abundance of additional signage along that property frontage. Two other points on the protective overlay. If you want to go back to the aerial image, Paul. The property lines on the south, east, and north side are already screened by either dense evergreen trees along the south and the east, and then there's existing privacy fences along the north, none of which are currently owned by the applicant of this application. So the protective overlay is guaranteeing that they are going to be maintaining the screening that is already in place as opposed to installing additional screening that is their own. That being said, so if a evergreen tree dies and a hole is put in the hedgerow along Maverick Street, they would have to either fill the hole with another evergreen tree or put a fence up to cover that gap to maintain the required screening between the commercially zoned property and the residentially zoned property on the east. Same thing would go with the privacy fences on the north. They're required to maintain those privacy fences or replace them should they ever be in disrepair and fall over and the screening requirement not be met. Properties to the north are zoned residentially, and you can see they're the backyards of residential houses. Property to the south is MF18 because it's the driveway into the condominium complex to the east. Properties farther south from this retail line down, retail store down to 37th Street are all limited commercial. Those commercial properties have a 140 square foot, would be allowed a 140 square foot sign, 136 square foot sign, and 120 square foot sign. And that's where staff came up with the 100 square foot sign as it being more in line and more reasonable with what the existing allowable signage is along North Woodlawn at this location. Properties to the west are in the city of Bel Air and are governed by their sign code. Staff has received some questions and comments about this. One in particular on a phone call was just getting some clarification on how tall the sign could be. I had a conversation with a gentleman and confirmed with him that the sign cannot exceed 25 feet in height. And so again, it was just more of a clarification conversation. So staff is recommending approval of limited commercial subject to protective overlay 402, which again, that language was submitted with the application. The applicant is willing to be the good neighbor just to receive some additional signage so that they can use their standard prototype sign for the bank. If we go through the pictures, next picture, Paul. This is looking east at the sign. Woodlawn is under a major construction project, so it was a little bit hard to get some clear photos of it. So this is the property. You can see that dense hedgerow where you literally cannot see through it. You can see some of the privacy fences on the north side. Next picture. This is looking to the north with those residences and that privacy fence that would now be maintained by the applicant. Next picture. This is the south property line. This is the entrance drive into the condominium complex. Next picture. This is that retail with their sign located just south of that entrance drive. And then this is a Sonic fast food restaurant farther south. Next picture. This is on the west side of Woodlawn. These properties are in the city limits of Bel Air. And again, their signs are governed by their sign code. Next picture. And this will be going to DAB 2 next Monday on January 9th. And I can stand for questions for staff.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Green?
Got a couple. What's the height of that sign for the retail property south? Did you mention that?
With it being in limited commercial zoning, it's restricted to 25 feet.
And then the second question, where on the property will this CUA sign actually be located?
I am not aware of where they plan on putting it, but I will defer to the applicant or agent to identify that.
Thank you.
Any other?
Looks there's a site plan. I apologize. I believe this blue dash right here indicates the location of the sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Williams Bay?
I just want to make sure I understood. You said that the applicant will be replacing any damage to the fence, the landscaping?
Correct. By the zoning code requires solid screening between commercially zoned properties and residentially zoned properties. This screening is already in place, but it was put in place by the private property owners surrounding these. So by this protective overlay basically guarantees they don't have to put up their own fence. They can just assume the maintenance of the screening that already exists.
Okay, thank you. The applicant agent, or any other questions for staff? Then applicant or agent, please proceed to give us your name and address. And you have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, Phil Meyer with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. 315 Ellis is the address. Philip did a good job of explaining this. The site plan helps a lot. I didn't see that in staff report, so I'm glad it showed up. This is just a zone change to get us a larger sign. There's no doubt about that. The protective overlay that we volunteered explained that clearly. 2 goals in that protective overlay: to be able to get a larger sign and to be able to preserve the existing hedgerow on the south and east property line. We did last night before the holidays. Let me tell you that I have got Leanne Gabbert with Credit Union of America here with me today, and Justin Graham with Schaefer Johnson Cox Fry. If you have any specific questions of the credit union or the architect, we had sent a letter to the condominium association that exists to the east before the holidays. Had a voluntary meeting with them last night. A little hard to do during the holidays to get it fit in, but we met with the board and members of the association, 11 in total, showed them the site plan, showed them our goals, answered most of their questions. So we left that meeting last night feeling like for the most part, the condominium association was very comfortable with this, very glad that we're saving the hedgerow. That's the most important thing to them. The hedgerow's a little bit tricky. It runs the property line, runs down the middle of the property line sometimes. Sometimes it's on a Credit Union of America's property. Sometimes it's on a condominium association. So ownership of that hedgerow is in question, but both parties are very desirous to save that hedgerow. And with that, I know you're in for a long day, so I will stop and answer any questions you may have.
Such a considerate man with the Boffman Company. Questions for the applicant, Commissioner Green? I think I saw you first.
Yeah, Phil, can you spot the sign? Is that little area there that?
That's the sign.
That's it? Okay.
Right there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Blick?
The top part where it says Credit Union of America, is that backlit or is it just a static sign, the top part, with the LED below?
It's the top, that's static, that is LED.
Great, that's what I was wondering. I just didn't know if it was backlit or not, the top part.
Yeah.
They confirmed it is backlit instead of just a static, just image.
Okay. Thank you. That's why they're here to help me.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do.
Commissioner Cunningham?
How high are the drive-through stalls, and are they lit?
So the hours of the bank are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is security lighting on the drive-through area through the night, but it's more of a dim security lighting. And we're not open past 5 p.m. There is an ATM that's open 24/7.
Yeah. What I was getting at is it's hard for me online to see because we don't see the pointers. I think I see the sign. Doesn't the drive-through facility sort of buffer the view of the sign from the condo village over there?
Yes, it does, but that hedgerow buffers that drive-through facility completely. That's a very large hedgerow. They will not see the drive-through facility or the sign. But you're correct.
Okay.
The sign is at the very north end of the drive-through.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Philip. Is there anyone from the general public in chambers who would like to speak on this item? Anyone participating virtually who would like to speak on this item?
Yeah, so this is Kermit Morris.
Your name and address, please, for the record.
Yeah, my name is Kermit Morris, and I live at 6415 East 39th Street, Court North, which is just the property to the north. So this is going to be a bank which is Capital Federal Credit Union or something?
Credit Union of
Is that
America.
correct? Credit Union of America. And this sign that you're in question is indicated by the blue dash next to the road?
Correct.
I see. Is the LED lights going to be on after closing of the sign?
Yes, if you could state all the questions you have, then we'll have the applicant repeat when you're completed and all other questions are asked. So you want to know about the backlighting?
Yeah, basically, how is the lighting always going to be on, or if it's going to be turned off whenever they're not in business?
And other questions that you have or concerns about the project?
Right now, I believe I understand. Just the lighting of the property itself in the evening, and the lighting of the sign, I would expect.
Okay.
Would be in question.
Is there anyone else participating virtually who would like to speak on this item?
Also, the overlay that you are attaching,
Okay.
is that is going to remain?
Okay. Yeah.
That will remain regardless of the owner of the property. Is that correct?
That is correct. Okay, I think we've concluded our testimony from you, so any other virtual participants? Then applicant or agent, can you respond to the final public comment question, please?
Yeah, as we told the condominium association last night, we had the same question on lighting of the facility. Just basically very little lighting on the rear of the property in the evening, just security lighting for the safety of the place. It does close at 5. The LED light, the sign, that runs 24/7. On this, the protective overlay does run with the land, so when sold, that goes with the property.
And the screening on the north is existing fence?
Existing fence, and then we're in the city of Wichita, so we will have to do landscape buffering between us and the property to the north.
Okay.
There will be some additional landscape that goes along that north property line.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Commissioner Green?
On that LED lighting, is there a time of day or that the intensity of that LED is required to be brighter or dimmer?
It'd be required to be dimmer at dusk, correct. And I should also point out, if the sign is within 200 feet of residential zoning and visible from residential zoning, it has to be off after, I believe, 11 o'clock at night. That's standard sign code.
Okay. Commissioner Blick?
How far do you think that sign is to the property to the north? It looks quite a bit. Just ballpark.
150 feet, maybe 200, in that range.
Sounds good. That's all I needed.
Commissioner Williams Bay?
The landscaping you're going to be providing, is that going to be trees or is it going to be low-level landscaping?
The landscape buffer required between that would have to be trees, either one shade tree for 40 feet or 2 evergreens or ornamentals.
Okay. Commissioner Bill Johnson?
I move to approve for staff comments.
Excuse me, do we need 2 motions? One for the zone change and one for the screening requirements, or can we do this with one motion?
It can be one motion, correct? Because it's included in the, subject to staff comments, which includes that information. So I have a.
Ann?
Yes?
This is Joe. I think I need to abstain.
Okay, yeah. Joe Johnson will abstain from the vote. We have a motion from Commissioner Bill Johnson. We have a second from Commissioner McKay. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Hearing none, motion passes 12-0-1. Next item, 4.10. This is 47th Street South and Hydraulic Avenue. Is the applicant or agent present? Have we confirmed? Oh, okay, I see you behind the pillar. Philip, please proceed with the staff report.
Again,
Thank
good
you
afternoon.
for your participation.
Yep. Philip Zevenbergen with the planning staff. Zone 2268 is a zone change request from limited commercial to general commercial with a protective overlay. The property is located on the northeast corner of East 47th Street and South Hydraulic. The proposed use of this property is for a recreational vehicle campground and warehouse self-storage. Paul, if you want to go to the aerial image, please. The applicant intends to convert the buildings located on the hard corner of 47th and Hydraulic to the self-storage units. And then the remainder of the property, they're looking to create the recreational vehicle campground. As you can see, the existing Sonic restaurant is not part of the application area, nor are these residences on the east side of Hydraulic. What's interesting about this site is it is unplatted. However, right-of-way dedications have been done by separate instrument. That's what these lines are here and this line here. During the platting process, the applicant intends to vacate those rights-of-way and access to the site. Basically, you'll draw a line right here because Sonic needs access to their site. But anything north of that and then this access point here will be all done by private drive. The important thing about that is, as you can see on Fernwood, there are driveway approaches paved along Fernwood, and is the applicant's desire to close those drive inlets to avoid any of the commercial traffic going out on Fernwood in respect to the residential properties to the north. So part of the protective overlay that is included in this application is to require access control to be dedicated along Fernwood to ensure that those access drives are closed at the time of platting. This property is 11.5 acres, and our zoning code requires that any commercial development over 6 either have a community unit plan established or doing a protective overlay in lieu of a community unit plan. Based on the type of development that they're looking to do, they felt it was more appropriate to do the protective overlay and not the community unit plan. Staff supports this. One of the major reasons is a protective overlay can only restrict the existing zoning, whereas a community unit plan, as you all are fairly familiar with, can provide flexibility in the development standards by either reducing setbacks, increasing heights, increasing signage. There's some fluidity with the standard zoning development in community unit plans. And with this having a protective overlay, they're not allowed to do that. They can only restrict what the current zoning would allow. The protective overlay identifies a number of uses that are prohibited in general commercial. Those are listed in your staff report. For the sake of time, I will save discussion about that for any questions. It is also restricting signage, that no portable signs are permitted. Any ground signs will be monument type as opposed to a pole sign. No offsite or billboard signs within 300 feet of residential uses, which is just affirming what's already required in the sign code. And then any buildings cannot have a illuminated building sign on the north or the east property lines, or anytime they face a residential use. So say if there was ever a future construction of a building here, even though these properties are zone limited commercial, it's a residential use and they're not allowed to have an illuminated building sign. The zoning code requires solid screening where it abuts or is across the street from residential development. So in addition to closing these access drives from Fernwood, this property line would have solid screening, which again is a minimum of a 6-foot solid screening fence. This property line, where there currently is not, I think in some places there is a solid screening fence, but it would have to be a contiguous screening line here. They would have the opportunity to do it here, or they can opt for the landscape, street yard, and parking lot screening per the landscape code. Speaking of which, the landscape code requires that the same property lines have the landscape buffer, which again is 1 tree per 40 linear feet. That's a shade tree, or 2 ornamental trees in their place. landscape street yards along Hydraulic and East 47th Street. This property here, since it was already developed and the parking lots already exist, is exempt from the landscape code regarding parking lot screening because they're not enlarging these parking lots on this portion of the site, and they already exist and they were established before the ordinance was put in place. They would have to meet the parking requirements of the zoning code. And then the protective overlay requires that lighting, noise, the screening of mechanical equipment and trash receptacles all adhere to the standards of the Unified Zoning Code. With lighting, that's limiting the height of lighting fixtures to 15 feet when within 200 feet of residential zoning. And then noise is restricted with the Wichita Noise Ordinance. Properties to the north are zoned MF29, and it's a mixture of single-family and duplex dwelling units. Property to the east is zoned MH, manufactured housing, and it's a manufactured home park. Property to the west is a mixture of SF5 and LC. The majority of those properties are developed residentially, except for the property right at the corner of 47th and Hydraulic, and that is an automotive shop. Property to the south is SF5 for a portion of it with single-family homes, and then limited commercial for the remainder of it, which has some commercial uses kind of across the street from the Sonic, and then the direct corner is undeveloped where Quick Trip used to be before it moved across the street. Diagonal across the intersection, you have general commercial zoning with a community unit plan, and the majority of this property is occupied by Quick Trip with their gas station and convenience store. As I mentioned, the property is unplatted. Platting is required before there is issuance of any permits. The property was zoned limited commercial in 1958 when the 3-mile ring around Wichita was established. This property was in the county, and within that 3-mile ring, the 4 corners of arterial intersections were upzoned to limited commercial as a means to help promote development, and that is where the limited commercial was established. South Hydraulic and East 47th Street are 4-lane arterials with sidewalks on both sides. It has a signalized intersection with left turn signals and left turn lanes. East Fernwood is a paved local street with no sidewalks. As I mentioned, the protective overlay requires access control to be dedicated so no commercial vehicles can use Fernwood to access the site. Wichita Transit provides regular bus service in the area, and water and sewer are available to the site, and I believe it is the intention of the applicant to extend those services throughout the site to provide hookups for the recreational vehicles so you don't have a common like sewer dump point. Each vehicle can hook up and just have direct access for sewer services. The community investments plan identifies the majority of the site for new employment. And then the portion of the northeast site is appropriate for residential. The land use compatibility guidelines say that commercial uses that generate pollution, odor, noise, light, and high levels of traffic should be located away from residential areas and developed with screening, buffering, and site design features sufficient to mitigate the adverse impacts. Those mitigating factors and design features such as screening, landscaping, adherence to the lighting standards are in the protective overlay to address those issues related to its proximity to the residential uses on the north. The property is also within the South Wichita Hayesville area plan. It's in partial conformance. That land use map identifies it as appropriate for residential uses. However, Chapter 4 of the plan discusses a desire for new commercial development in the plan area. Both the current limited commercial zoning and the new general commercial zoning with the protective overlay do allow for residential development. So it's not prohibiting any future residential development should it ever be redeveloped at any time in the future. So we find that it's in partial conformance with that plan. Overall, staff is recommending approval subject to protective overlay 401. I've hit the high points of this protective overlay in my staff report discussion, and I'll save any specific comments for that for the time of questions, if you have any. It went to the District Advisory Board 3 last night. they recommended approval with a 4-3 vote. There were individuals there who spoke in opposition to this request, and I believe we have some with us here today. And I will leave it to them to state their positions on it. I can go through the site pictures if you want to move to those, Paul. This is on hydraulic looking east at the site. We're south of the residential properties. Next picture. This is the corner property. That would be one of the buildings converted to self-storage. Next picture. This is the other corner property that would be converted to self-storage. Next picture. This is one of the drives on the west side of Sonic that would remain public at this point, but kind of where you see the barrier indications here, those red things, that's where they would vacate those at the platting process and it would become a private drive after that. Next picture. That's Sonic. Next picture. This is the eastern part of the site. You can see this drive again. North of this area would be vacated in terms of public right-of-way and be serve the site with a private drive. You can see there's some quasi-solid screening of the manufactured home park here, and some of it has chain link fence that would have to be upgraded by this applicant to a solid screening fence. Next picture. This is the entrance into the manufactured home park east of the site. Next picture. This is now looking south of 47th Street. This is a single family residence south of the site. Next picture. This is the commercial that is south of the site. Next picture. This is the corner property where Quick Trip used to be and is no longer developed. Next picture. This is the commercial property on the northwest corner of Hydraulic and 47th. Next picture. And these are the next three pictures, if you want to cycle through them, are the residential properties on the west side of Hydraulic. And then the last two next pictures are the residential properties on the east side of Hydraulic that are kind of carved out. And then the last couple pictures are along Fernwood. This is looking at the site towards the manufactured home park. Next picture, this is looking south at the site. Next picture. These are the homes on the north side of Fernwood. I was standing at one of the, if you want to go back, Paul, I apologize. I was standing at one of the drive inlets. Again, a screening fence would be installed along this street. This drive would be closed. This drive where this car is parked would be closed. And again, there'd be a screening fence here with landscaping per the requirements of the zoning code and the landscape ordinance. And I believe that is it. And I can stand for any questions.
Questions for staff? Commissioner Green.
On the, Philip, on the requirements there on the protective overlay, item 15, the site at the time of platting will dedicate complete access control to Fernwood Street to the north. It appears as though they're, I guess, according to their site plan, where lot 3 is up there at the north end, there's looks like a street return. And then at the east end there at Minneapolis, there's a street return. Is it, I know with the complete access control, with those street returns there, would we require having them remove those two returns and put curb and gutter in so that it would preclude any accidental turning into a mobile home?
I think the drives can stay depending, so that if it's ever redeveloped in the future, they would have the use of those. However, with the requirement for the screening fence, they would provide that barrier to where nobody can access the site from those drives. Those drives would be there, but there would be a screening fence blocking the entrance in. It could be a matter of a discussion at the time of platting, knowing they're going to be vacating those, of whether or not that's a requirement at the time of platting to update the curb and gutter to close those officially. But from a zoning aspect, just requiring the complete access code kind of punts it to the platting process on whether or not an improvement to the street needs to be made along with it.
Okay, we had addressed the access control, so I thought maybe this would be the time to address that too. So, thank you.
Any other questions for staff at this time? If not, we'd call for the applicant or agent.
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering. I'm the agent, 117 East Low Street. We worked with the staff on this, trying to find something that protects the neighborhood and helps us meet our need. Our main goal was to pick up the RV campground and then convert some of that stuff out front into self-storage, realizing that corner up there that we're talking about doing self-storage on is probably just a temporary thing if somebody comes in and has a better idea for development there, which is why we just kind of convert what's there. It'd be a lot cheaper than trying to build something new. But we're in agreement with staff comments, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for the applicant, Commissioner Blick?
Question I have is, so the entrance is only going to be on 47th Street, correct? Out of those two ends, and are those both ins and outs, or are they just one in and one out?
Those are existing streets right now, and they're in and out both, and we would leave those and would still try to get an access on hydraulic where we've already got pretty close to where we already have one.
Gotcha. And then how long do you propose the drive? Because most of these storage units have a gate where they're gated, where they have to access to get in. And I know a lot of trucks and trailers are trying to get in there. And then you have that Sonic that's going to be trying to use that entrance on their side. How long do you project that street's going to be to get inside?
To get to the storage units?
Yeah, to the storage unit where the gate's going to stop.
The street would go up to where we're showing the north side of Sonic, and then it would be access drives off of that. So they'd go up to that point and then have to take a left and head over.
Okay. How far do you think that is from the Sonic's entrance right there to that gate where that's probably going to be?
I'm not sure what that dimension is.
And I know it's not site plan, so I was just wondering with that tenant that's right there. So
that's I don't know how far that drive is.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Then I'd call for anyone in the chambers who would like to speak on this item. If you approach the podium, please, with your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm not too good at this, and I'll give it my go here. I'm Ron Becker from 1822 East Fernwood. I'm here representing my neighborhood. A little history here. We built our house there 37 years ago. There's long-term other neighbors there that's been there. It's been a great neighborhood, very little turnover there. And I received a letter about a permit to allow RV and self-service storage across the street from our neighborhood. That's what it says in this letter you sent me. I went to a DAB last night. I picked up the information, and it says here, recreational vehicle campground. So there's two different things going on here that we were never notified was going on. And the neighbors I talked to this morning weren't too happy about that. Let's see here. Okay. I kind of felt like they were deceived a little bit, not getting the right information to them. I found out the last minute last night, and that was very shocking. During the DAB meeting last night, they voted to approve 4-3. One of the members said, I approve. It's not my neighborhood. Now, what kind of leadership is that to say that? If he had voted his conscience, his recommendation approval would have been denied. This would have been denied if he would have spoke with his conscience. Okay, let's see. Also at the meeting, it was mentioned that the Planning Commission recommends a denial of another car lot on South Broadway. The reason for the denial was that they already have too many car lots on South Broadway. It was my understanding from my former city council representative that there's an ordinance saying there will be no more mobile home parks within the city limits. Well, there's a mobile home park on the north and one to the east of our neighborhood. So let's just go ahead and put in an RV campground to the south that will hold approximately 125 RVs, and 22 will be backed up to Fernwood Street. You can deny a car lot, but you can't deny an RV campground in a neighborhood? I've talked with a lot of people today, and not one of them supportive of it. As South Wichita is trying its best to improve its community and image, this would be taking a lot of steps backwards. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the speaker? Do you know if your neighborhood has an active neighborhood plan?
Well, we had a neighborhood association, but it's kind of dissolved. We're trying to get it back together. A little history here too on the area.
Yeah, you've answered my question. I just wondered if you had a neighborhood
Could I
plan.
still comment though? Or?
Is there, we'll call for anyone else who wants to speak on this, and then the applicant will come back to respond to your concerns. So the next speaker, please. Thank you.
I'm Charlene Becker. I live at 1822 East Fernwood. I'm not used to speaking, but I'm sorry. I do not want to get out and open my door every morning and have to look at 22, which is the plot that shows right along Fernwood, trailers or RVs. And I don't think any of you guys would want an RV park 105 feet from your front door. I'm sorry people can't think of other people's feelings and stuff like that, because this is our home, our neighborhood. Trailer parks, fine. What, does anybody else have 2 trailer parks around their home and now gonna have a RV park around another one? The only open space we're gonna have is right off of Hydraulic. And I'll bet you not one of you guys, any of you in this room, would have that kind of a thing going. I'm done, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the speaker? Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to speak on this item? Is there anyone participating virtually who would like to speak on this item? JR, can you tell if that's a phone lighting up? If you're participating virtually?
I cannot.
Okay. Applicant or agent, would you like to return for rebuttal, please?
I'd just like to remind everybody that this is already zoned commercial property. The entire thing is zoned LC. All we're doing is trying to add 2 uses to it that aren't already there. And by doing that, we're also conceding that we would not have access to Fernwood. If this is denied and it becomes a different type of development, I can't say what would happen as far as the access through the north.
Okay. Any further questions for the applicant? Commissioner Johnson?
Now, is this going to be just a storage area or is this an RV park?
It'll be an RV park. Right now, what we're looking at is that intersection of 47th and Hydraulic, where you have the existing buildings, converting those over into a self-storage type of facility. And then on like some of this, we would do RV park. And then we'd probably leave, it's pretty good sized land. I can't see it all becoming RV park. So we'd leave some of it open and try to market it to some kind of commercial.
Commissioner Williams Bay?
Are there going to be any permanent storage of RVs there?
No, it's not for RV storage. It's an RV park. It'd just be self-storage is what that corner would be.
The RVs won't be there year round. They'll just be.
Right.
But the RVs will come and go? Is that the nature of an RV campground?
Right, it's an RV campground.
And they have utilities, so they're plugged in. Can you talk a little bit about the noise and the sound and lighting that would come from a typical RV park?
No, I don't
And would there
RV,
be
so I really don't know.
On-site management or security of any kind for that RV park?
There would be some on-site management because somebody's got to be there to if anything happens as far as maintenance and collecting fees and all that kind of stuff. So there would be somebody there for that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Blick?
So I think the closest RV park is Sunflower that's over there by 47th, right behind the old Kmart. Is that about right?
Right.
47th and
Mhm.
Broadway, just
Yes.
right down the street?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have one.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes, on the corner, that red square, that's just the corner, is that where the RV park would be contained to?
On the corner of the intersection, that's where the self-storage would be.
And then to the north, that's where the RV park would start?
Right, the RV park would be in those areas that don't have anything on them right now. That would be the potential areas for the RV campground.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Then I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Hartman?
Question for Philip. Philip, if they don't develop all the way to the north, are they still required to screen that north property line and east property line?
Yes.
So any development on that site will require that?
Any development will require it, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Questions are for staff only at this time. Have we ever managed questions in the chat box? I think all of our questions have been by public testimony. If there's someone online who wanted to speak, we called for your input. I'm sorry, but we don't really have the capability to view the chat box.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by
Second.
Commissioner Warren, a second from Commissioner Duwall. Additional discussion? Not dual, but dual. Okay. Discussion on this item. Tough one because it's already zoned commercial. And so this is simply knowing what the commercial use would be. Comment, discussion? Commissioner Blick?
I think that after he presented the applicant, where these are mobile home and then the storage unit, I was thinking the whole thing was storage unit when I seen the little boxes and squares. So it kind of opened my eyes, and I do see the one at 47th Street. It's completely full, especially with all the traffic that's coming down there off of I-35 that's coming up, and it's a growing trend with these RVs and stuff. But I can definitely see this with being a commercial property and supporting it just because of those stats.
Any other discussion? Call for a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Hearing none, motion passes 13-0.
And Madam Chair, if I could, just knowing we have individuals for the next case out, if we want to take a few minutes to let
Okay.
the room kind of reset, so that those folks outside can find
Make
empty
sure everybody's
seats.
in the room, okay? And I was notified of a conflict of interest, so Commissioner Hartman will abstain from the discussion and vote on this next item. Next. Yes.
I would like to see how you're gonna speak.
Okay. Okay, and then,
And then I think the other one will make 2-minute presentation.
okay, okay,
And keep it on 2 minutes.
yeah, okay, gotcha.
That's my personal.
I like that idea. Do I have to get a vote to cover that? Oh, you're gonna make that recommendation, or can I just make that recommendation? Oh, we do have to have a motion?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, this is case number 4.11, zoning case 2022-00069. We have received multiple pages of comments, and I would like to see a show of hand. Thank you all for suffering through our entire meeting. You learned a little about Planning Commission today, I'm sure. I would like a show of hands on how many of you plan to speak to provide comment on this item. 12, 15, 20. Okay. You got a good count at about 3 minutes each. That's about 40 minutes of testimony. And we also have, how many of you who plan to speak also gave written testimony on this item? Okay, 1 or 2. All right. I would like to consider that we would hold our public comment to about 2 minutes per person. And then to remind you that we like to make sure every commenter gives new information, recognizing many of you have probably got similar concerns. Yeah, I'm asking, for a motion to that effect. Because of the number of persons that we limit the presentations to 2 minutes each. Commissioners, are you comfortable?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner. Legal counsel?
They're counseling.
Okay. Okay.
Kirk Sponsel, Assistant County Counselor. If I may have a minute to look for the bylaws.
Okay. Do we want to proceed with the staff presentation, and then we'll proceed with the staff presentation, and then you can rule when we get to the public comment period?
I would have more information
Okay,
later on.
all right, great, thank you. All right, Aaron, will you please present the case for us, please?
Yes, Erin Ebach with the Planning Department. Zone 2022-00069 is a request to rezone the 133.2 acre portion of the quarter section in the northeast corner of West Central Avenue and North 135th Street West from SF20 single family residential to TF3 two-family residential district and MF18 multifamily residential district for duplex and multifamily development. The subject site is currently developed with a single family residence and an agricultural structure located along the southern edge of the quarter section down here, and I'll show you all that when we get to the site photos, as well as a communications tower that is located up where you see that Con 2010 area there in the northeast corner of the property. As proposed, the MF18 multifamily residential zoning would be located on the west portion of the site abutting the North 135th Street West, and the TF3 zoning would be located at the 86 acres on the east portion of the site. The application area you can see out here is outlined in black. But then there is a remaining area along the perimeter of the property that the applicant intends to leave as single-family zoning. So there would be a perimeter on the northeast and south sides of the property of that SF20 single-family residential zoning that would remain, and it's approximately 26 acres in total combined here. And the depth of that, which would be sufficient for one single-family home kind of ring to go around that exterior of the property where that TF3 zoning would abut the single-family residential development to the north, east, and then south. The MF18 multifamily residential district permits single-family, two-family, and multifamily residences at a density of 17.4 dwelling units per acre. And the TF3 two-family residential district permits single-family and two-family residences developed at a density of 14.5 dwelling units per acre. The applicant has indicated that they plan to dedicate a reserve in between the MF18 and TF3 areas where the floodplain runs through the property to serve as a natural buffer and transition in uses from the higher density MF18 to then the TF3, and then a further transition from the TF3 to the SF20 zoning that would remain along that perimeter. The quarter section is currently located in unincorporated Sedgwick County, and as of this week is surrounded by the city of Wichita on all sides. The applicant plans to request annexation into the city of Wichita, and upon approval of the annexation, I do want to note that the SF20 zoning here would be automatically converted to SF5 zoning, so that would be compatible with the surrounding residential zoning to the northeast and south. The quarter sections to the north, south, and east of the subject site are again zoned SF5 single-family residential and are developed with suburban scale residential neighborhoods. The quarter section to the west, we recently received an application to rezone to a PUD 107, and then that property was recently, on Tuesday, was annexed into the city of Wichita. I do want to note, so a small portion of the quarter section to the east of the subject site is zoned MF 18 and is developed with single-family residences. And then there is an undeveloped 1 acre property south of the subject site on the southeast corner of the intersection that is zone GO, as well as some LC zoning down here to the southwest of the site. Off-street parking for multifamily dwellings are required at a rate of 1.25 stalls per 1 bedroom or efficiency dwelling unit and 1.75 stalls per 2 bedroom or larger dwelling unit by the Unified Zoning Code. And duplexes on this site would be required to have 1 off-street parking stall per dwelling unit. The Unified Zoning Code requires solid screening when multifamily uses are developed abutting or across from residential zoning districts, which would require the applicant to provide solid screening along all sides of the MF18 multifamily proposed area of this property. The subject site has not been platted, and there has not been an application to plat the site at this time. Outside of the approval for the conditional use for the communications tower, there have been no other zoning actions on this site. In regard to public services, Central is a paved 4-lane arterial east of the intersection with sidewalks on both sides, and North 135th Street is a paved 2-lane arterial with 4 lanes at the intersection. The area is not currently served by sidewalks, and primary access to the land will be determined at the time of platting. Wichita Transit does not currently provide regular bus service to the area, and municipal water and sewer are available to the site, but would need to be extended at the applicant's expense as development occurs. The requested zone change is found to be in conformance with the community investments plan. Paul, if we could go to the land use map, please. So you'll see that this portion here of the site is identified as appropriate for residential and employment mix development. And then the northern portion of the site is recognized as appropriate for new residential development. The new residential category includes land likely to be developed with residential uses, including duplexes and multifamily residences by the year 2035. And the residential and employment mix category are areas likely to be developed with mixed uses, including higher density residential uses when located near other commercial uses. In this case, the site's proximity to the GO General Office District zoning to its south and the LC Limited Commercial District zoning to its southwest make the proposed multifamily development appropriate for the southwest portion of this quarter section, so the area in which the MF18 zoning is proposed. Additionally, the Community Investments Plan locational guidelines encourage a development pattern which buffers higher intensity uses from those of a lesser intensity. And in this case, the MF18 zoning is proposed to be buffered from the TF3 zoning by that floodplain reserve. And then the TF3 two-family residential zoning will be buffered from the surrounding single-family residence by the buffer around the perimeter of the site, leaving that SF5 perimeter. Based on the information received at the time of the public hearing, staff is recommending the approval of this application. CAB 3 will hear this case on their meeting on January 9th, so next Monday. And staff has received a significant amount of public comment that was sent out to the Planning Commission ahead of time, and there is a printed copy provided for you at the table as well. If we could go through this, the site photos, please. As you can see, this is the subject site facing kind of the northeast area of the quarter section. Next photo, please. Subject site, and then the abutting single-family subdivision to the east. Next photo, please. Again, another portion of the site. Next photo, please. This is the subdivision north of the subject site, facing east. Next photo, please. Again, the subdivision east of the subject site. Next photo, please. So this is a portion of the agricultural and residential property that currently exists on the site that will line up with the remaining SF5 buffer, so that single-family area on the south perimeter of the site. Next photo, please. This is property south of the subject site. Next photo, please. And then another photo of the subdivision behind the previous photo of the red structure. Secondary south picture. And then southwest, you can see here, this is the LC zoned area. It's currently undeveloped, and then the Highland Springs neighborhood abutting that LC area to the southwest of the site. Next photo, please. And with that, I am glad to answer any questions that you all may have.
Questions for staff at this time? Okay, hearing none. We have the applicant or agent come forward to present on this project, please.
Madam Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Greg Ferris. I represent the Alpert family who owns this parcel, also represent the contract purchaser. We don't have anything much to add to staff's comments. We agree with all of their points. I'll make a few other statements and be brief, as I know you have had a long meeting and have a lot of people that want to address you. There's a few challenges with this parcel. As you see, runs through the middle is I don't know, do I have a right to change this or not? Did you load the site plan, whoever loaded these, is the site plan in here?
They should have the aerial map that shows the two.
Well, I provided a site plan that shows the floodway, but you can see as it comes through here, this is all floodway and is not developable. So this parcel has some challenges already. I'm sure that's part of the reason it hasn't been developed. The parcel to the west of this is, I understand, being developed in mixed uses with PUD with two-family and single-family. So what we're doing is compatible with what is being recommended. The developers are planning to do this a little differently than most people expect when you do TF3 zoning. This is not what we consider in Wichita our standard duplexes. These are really going to be developed as twin homes and townhomes. They will be in a homeowners association with requirements of maintenance, of the same kinds of things that we all who live out west have in our homeowners association. They will have, which ensures that this area will continue to be an upscale area as it is today. The developers also are going to be developing single family. They are confident that their development as they have it planned will be compatible with the single family because they are going to have to market those single family homes that they're going to build as the buffer. The planning department always encourages development that is buffered. We buffer this with single family and then buffer the MF18 with multifamily. The great deal of the multifamily area that's zoned, virtually half of it is undevelopable. There's only 25 acres that actually will be developed in the multifamily area. In the two-family area, there's approximately 87 acres, and that will be developed with just slightly over 70 acres of the two-family zoning. This certainly fits the policy 10 recommendations. You have my letter. I'm not going to go through that. I do want to highlight a couple of those things. One is the comp plan. The comp plan calls for this area to be residential or in employment, which means we could still meet the comp plan if we were developing this with even more intense uses than we are planning. So we are well in the realm of the comprehensive plan and follow those completely. So we think that what we have proposed today makes sense in this area. The reason this hasn't been annexed into the city is that if this parcel is not approved for zoning, it will not be annexed at all. The Alperts have no interest in annexing their farm, and until it's developed, it won't be annexed. So that's why this would be is being done through the county instead of through the city, which is normally happens. A lot of the questions that come up at plating will be done through this board as well, be with public hearings and public notice. So there's nothing really hidden here other than the fact that we believe that with the floodplain, with the way that this area is developed, with the single family buffer, that we've created an environment here that will be a fantastic development for this area. These one of the conditions of the homeowners association will be that these will not be parceled out, so that one owner will be required to maintain and keep the two-family unless they are sold off as single-family or residential uses, owner-occupied. So those are more conditions and restrictions that are protections for this area. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Blick, question?
Mr. Ferris, is the tower going to remain on that property when it's developed?
I don't believe it's going away that I know of. It's possible, but I don't know what the...
The question I had on that is, it looks like there's an access road over off of Hickory, and I know this isn't a site plan, but I was just wondering if it's going to retain that access road over through Hickory or not.
It's a good question. I think during plating they'll have to address that because that's going to be something that they'll have to deal with.
Thank you. That's all question I have.
Commissioner Warren?
Mr. Ferris, you've got a ring of single-family lots going around this on three sides.
Yes, sir.
Approximately how large will those lots be?
100. The parts will be 150 foot deep, and it's going to be SF5 zoning, so it'll have to be comparable to that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Green, you have a question?
Yeah, just to piggyback on Commissioner Blick's question, also on the north, you have Liberty. There's a stub that comes in, and again, at the time of plating, that'll need to be discussed, but I just wanted to bring that to your
Yeah,
attention.
I think those always raise a lot of issues, and, this is a large enough parcel that they may be able to create the entrances and exits that they need for the fire department. The floodplain presents some of those challenges, but again, once if this gets approved and goes through plating, those are when those will be addressed, and I understand those are always concerns of the neighbors, and they'll have to have their input at that time, because we don't know what it will look like until these developments, and there's a lot more work because of the floodplain that has to go into this project than normal.
Other questions for the applicant? I believe I heard you say you're marketing these as twin homes, and that typically is you're marketing them as an owner-occupied unit, and you said
Not all
at
of them.
least one side would need to be owner-occupied?
There will be the single family around those will obviously be sold as single family owner occupied units. Those are not the desire of the developer to manage single family rental units. The owner, the purchaser of this property develops large scale twin family and two family areas that they manage the whole property, maintain it, keep it, and they will keep most of those units. They do want the flexibility then, if they decide they want to have twin homes across from the single family, they will have that flexibility when they do their homeowner association. Those are the kinds of things that they'll be dealing with.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Hearing none, then I'd call for legal counsel recommendation.
Yes, Kirk Sponsel, Assistant County Counselor. Thank you for the additional time to review the bylaws. So as indicated, we're looking to the bylaws for the capabilities of this commission. First off, I just wanted to state that the bylaws may be suspended by the commission temporarily by a 2/3 majority vote of the members. But with that said, I just wanted to establish two things here. First off is the standard, and then second is discretion that the commission has. So first off, in dealing with the standards, the bylaws indicate that presentations by other members of the audience shall be limited to 3 minutes per individual. That time may be extended either by the chair or by a majority vote of the commission. So that's the standard that can be looked at. Now, there is some discretion to limit those minutes, and there's two ways that can be done. The chair may limit, the presiding officer in this situation, the chair, may limit comments when is in their opinion that such comments are repetitious. So that's the first option. The second option would be, or when the course of business due to the number of matters to be considered and or number of people requesting to be heard will not permit further comments. So I would draw your attention to the consideration of will not permit further comments. At this time, it's been indicated there are going to be approximately 10 to 15 presenters. So if you were to exercise this discretion, I would ask you for justification on why you think the additional 10 to 15 minutes saved would be.
Right. I would like to proceed and simply limit repetition. So to me, I don't want multifamily in my backyard. You might have different reasons for that, but if we could, as you listen to your neighbors, make sure the whole scope of information can be shared, and then I'll raise my hand if I believe we've heard it already, so that you can move on to the next topic. Okay? All right, that'll allow everybody who wanted to speak to speak. Okay, so we will proceed now to public comment. Mr. Johnson will poke me if he hears repetition too, right? We'll have a couple of us assessing repetition. So state your name and address for the record, please. And again, thanks for bearing with us, trying to make this most efficient for everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Clint Stevens, 13608 West Hardner. I'm the HOA president for Highland Springs. It's good to see you all again in such short notice. I do have a prepared statement, so I will try to quickly get through this to meet the timelines. Good afternoon, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak. We have 292 homes in Highland Springs. As you are aware, the property to the west of 135th Street is up for rezoning approval by the City Council, seeking the PUD development based on TF3 zoning, customized with 3-to-1 and 5-to-1 5-to-1 dwelling to acre ratios, which will allow them to build about 500 homes in this west quarter section. There are approximately 1,650 existing SF5 single-family homes throughout the 6 surrounding quarter sections. With the additional PUD 107 quarter section, there will be just over 2,000 homes surrounding this proposed property. So as we look around you have about 2,000 homes that are going to be encompassing this property here, which provides no opportunity to expand any logistics or anything of that nature. This proposal of MF18, the 17-4, and the TF3, the 14-7, would allow up to 1,500 new multifamily homes to be built in a single surrounded quarter section. This is 75% increase in homes within just 1/8 of the land area, in effect taking the majority of the surrounding homes built over the surrounding 1,280 acres and putting them in the middle of just 160 acres. The current estimated population for the entire 77,000 acre, 11 square mile, 67235 area code is 13,000. If approved, this property will reasonably increase localized population by more than 4,000, or about 30% in just 1/4 square mile, or less than 2% of the land area. There are an estimated 4,500 dwellings, where the proposed rezoning would allow an additional 1,500 to be built, an increase of nearly, my math was wrong, half, placed within the 2% of the land area. A reasonable expectation exists where the Goddard School District will immediately expand beyond capacity to meet student demand, as the district is near capacity today. These issues and all other issues that will be discussed throughout this process will be reasonably mitigated by maintaining compatible zoning in line with precedent, SF5 being the standard, with pockets of other zoning where appropriate, as we see throughout this entire area. Furthermore, on August 2nd, 2016, the District Advisory Board was presented rezoning request Zone 16, Tax 00033. This was SF5 to TF3 for this property here. It's a 23-acre section immediately adjacent, and the board voted and denied this request based on community opposition and the following board member statements. Values of adjacent properties will decrease. This is their statements.
Okay, and you have 5 seconds, so
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
can wrap it up.
Rental properties deteriorate over time, safety and security, et cetera.
And that's your time, so I would thank you for your prepared statement to get as much information as possible, and we'll assume that other speakers will bring out some of the issues you were going to raise. So next speaker, please.
Hello, Karl Soldatov, 601 North Jacks Street, president of Bay Country Homeowners Association. I'd like to start with a letter that I hope the commission received from Joe Siewert, our District 101 state representative, supportive my constituents who oppose the rezoning, so on. Over past decades, existing residents bought their single-family homes, maintained their properties, paid their taxes, enjoyed their communities, never expecting their government to inflict adjacent apartment and duplex communities on them. Continuing, the proposed duplex and apartment development has to the north Coppergate, Liberty Estates, Hickory Creek, and another non-HOA development. To the east are Deer Glen and Stonegate. To the south are Bay Country, Rainbow Lakes, and Highland Springs. With all the surrounding existing quiet single-family communities, the addition of adjacent apartment and duplex communities is incompatible and unsuitable. Single-family SF5 or better home rezoning would be more appropriate. The proposed apartments and duplexes could be added further west and north without negatively impacting existing surrounding communities.
I believe that repeats what we've heard from the other homeowner association. Any additional issues that you'd like to raise?
Yes, added ingress and egress to the proposed development area will likely be through Liberty Estates, North Liberty Street and Deer Glen, Hickory Lane via currently dead-end streets, unwanted traffic through the existing neighborhoods. Okay, so that...
Traffic through existing neighborhoods on the increase in population.
Okay.
Or density.
I would like to point out that in Bay Country, we have 286 houses. We're looking at 1,500 up to 1,700, doing the math. what was proposed. That's just a crazy addition to that quarter section.
We've heard that. Yeah, we've heard that.
Okay, property value, well, all right. Per the Ferris Consulting Report, page 6, the proposal is for affordable housing. Affordable housing equals crime. Wichita PD is already down or short 60 officers. Can't just say that they'll add cars. Property value, this higher density reduces property value, crime reduces property value. Drainage is going to be a problem. With all of the rooftop and concrete pavement added, water's got to go somewhere. I know that there's a report.
Drainage will be addressed only at the platting stage if it gets that far, and then it has to be
We'll address
approved
it
before
then.
we move on with
Okay.
construction.
So added congestion and detrimental effect. Okay, we covered that. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much for self-editing. We're making a good list for Mr. Ferris to respond to. Okay, thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Sharping. I'm the HOA president for Deer Glen to the east of this development. It's a beautiful day in Doodah. If you understand that statement, you know how long I've lived in Wichita. It's my home. Today I'm going to talk about crime. High-density housing as proposed here traditionally drives up crime rates. These neighborhoods are extremely low. Our neighborhood in Deer Glen, we had 3 police calls last year. If we add high-density housing, such as the MF18 that was proposed, we're looking at increasing crime rates. If you look at the city's heat map for crime, every hotspot northwest Wichita is associated with an apartment or MF18 or larger or denser population densities. Currently, the Wichita Police Department is more than 65 officers short of what they request. So my understanding that Beat 199, which supports Kellogg North and the Big Ditch West, has only 2 officers in the overnight shifts to patrol all of northwest Wichita. Allowing this type of development at best would be considered reckless, at worst it'd be considered dangerous for the people that live there. In addition, I'd like to comment about Deer Glen. How many of you have been to Candy Cane Lane or Reindeer Road? Everybody's seen that. I know I live in that neighborhood. It's a long way to get in. This is a very unique opportunity in Wichita that the residents provide. Just today, Wallet Hub came out with a finding on the rating the top 100 markets in the United States on things to do. Wichita was right there at number 95 out of 100. There's nothing to do in Wichita. Candy Cane Lane and Reindeer Road provide a free outlet to the city. We see thousands of cars on a given night through December, people coming to enjoy the free lights and enjoy this. If we are looking at, let me step back a little bit. In previous years, traffic flow, when we were full up all the way out to Central, it would take 45 to 50 minutes to get through a neighborhood. Over years of working this issue, we've been able to get it down to only 35 minutes. Living in the farthest house from the entrance, I live with that, that's okay. I have a watch and a calendar, I know when it's gonna be bad. If we open up this development in Hickory to the west, it will disrupt our traffic flow through our neighborhood. It will become chaos. It'll be years and years again. That is my concerns.
So
thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please. So traffic congestion at Christmas is your main focus right there, and traffic congestion through the neighborhood. Okay.
My name is Lance Oldridge. I live at 1019 North Firefly Circle. I wanted to go first, but going last, I can cut all this out because you won't let me talk about it. So,
you agree with the persons before you, in other words?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna key on a couple things then that I heard.
Thank you.
First off, thanks for my commissioner, Mr. Fry, over here, and thank you for your service planning commission. I'm gonna key on a couple things I heard earlier in the meeting. The character of the neighborhood. I think everybody on the others came here and said it does or doesn't fit with the character. This proposal does not fit with the character of this location. The word the planning commission staff used earlier. She pointed out a couple little segments of multifamily, but I don't have the access to this. But look around her. You won't find in miles, I'm guessing, but miles of this, of the TF3 or the MF18 of this size. It's going to drastically affect all of the neighborhoods around there. Trying to go through my list so I don't double up here. One thing I kind of question, I appreciate the cell tower question. I'd like to know that, but that might come at a later stage, I guess, and the Hickory dead end. But one thing Mr. Ferris said was the owners would not, I can't tell if this is sold or not sold or it's contingent, but this property is already zoned for a single family. Okay, TF, I don't know these numbers, or SF20, why don't we rezone it to SF5, the whole thing, instead of just that rim? I mean, you can still develop it at that and not affect all the hundreds of families and neighbors around this area. So there's a plan. They want two-family housing and multifamily housing. That just does not fit within the character of anything close to where we're at in West Wichita. Again, thank you for your time and service.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Ashley Smith, and I am the Vice President of Liberty Estates. We have 157 homes in our community. Our biggest concern is traffic. We have 157 homes, and our traffic flows well, but we still have a few blind spots in our neighborhood, which already cause issues to our residents. With that, we already have issues with speeding and a lack of yield signs where people just kind of go. So there's that. We also, with adding more vehicles to this big housing units that are being proposed, would cause more vehicles in our neighborhoods potentially. There is a dead-end road that could connect, which we would, of course, not want because it would add to our streets and to our neighborhoods. We have a lot of children in our neighborhoods as well. We also, with the traffic, blah, blah, blah. Also, with more cars, you can have more accidents, again, with kids. So there's that. And that was already touched. So everything else is kind of touched. Liberty Estates is, open to the single family and would like it to stay zoned as that.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. Do you have a question for the speaker?
Can you show me on the map and then additional speakers when you guys come up where your addition is, since it's not listed?
We are like right here. Like all this is us.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
It'd be easier to point to, but I know you guys didn't like that earlier. So yeah. So we're this.
Liberty Estates is the northwest. Deer Glen, Hickory Creek is northeast. And I'm saying it, repeating it so we can hear. Deer Glen is southeast, correct? Okay. And we had one more.
Oh, yes.
Rainbow Lakes.
Okay, yes.
Is south.
Further, yes.
Okay.
So, and I know Bay
Country is
they're a little further.
southwest.
So Liberty Park and Hickory Creek have a road that connects our neighborhoods. So we already have, that traffic as well. But
Okay.
So
Okay.
we would probably be most affected.
Okay, thank you for your testimony and for clarifying the locations for us. Okay, next speaker, please.
My name's John Shively, 12913 West Harvest Lane Court. And I'd just like to add another perspective to things.
Will you stay at the microphone so the people online can hear you, please? And there's a pointer on the desk if you can manipulate it.
This is a highly desirable property, obviously. The reason for that is because of the neighborhoods around it. And I see why the owners would want to profit from that, and they have a right to do that, but not at our expense. It's going to drive down the property values. That's been discussed. But I feel like there's plenty of opportunity for them to develop this as a single-family property in line with everything else around it. They get the profit, and we maintain what we've built. That's all I got to say.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker, please.
Terry Karst, 12807 West Harvest Lane, Hickory Creek Edition. We use a pointer here, live right in that corner right there. This lovely cell tower is right in my backyard, about 150 feet off my property. I believe Mr. Ferris was involved with that when that got fast-tracked through the county with one person approving it. So I have a little doubt about these developers when they promise things. That was supposed to be landscaped, supposed to be a beautiful thing out there. I think they planted 5 oak trees underneath the hedgerows, and this hedgerow runs down the property. The trees are probably 50, 60 years old. They planted oak trees under the existing trees. They lasted about 2 years. They died. They landscaped around the cell tower, which I'd love for that to be taken out. But for them to promise that these houses, the rows of houses around there are going to be nice, I really have doubt on that. I'm not going to reiterate everything everybody else said, but everybody on the west side of Wichita is very concerned about this addition.
Are you aware where to voice your complaints about the maintenance of the landscaping around the cell tower?
You know, I've called the sign. The fence fell over a couple times. Kids could get in there.
Okay.
They came out and put a new fence up. It's plastic. The landscaping is terrible.
Keep
And
calling.
I
Keep
have
calling.
called them, and as I said, I don't think anybody really cares.
Thank you for your testimony. Keep calling. Next speaker, please.
My name is Don Allen. I live at 514 North Forest View in Rainbow Lakes. It seems like there's duplexes, well, I know there's duplexes going in at 135th and Kellogg. There's duplexes going in at 119th and 29th North. There's duplexes, another set of duplexes going around there somewhere. I can't remember. I should have wrote my notes. But it seems like everybody's putting in duplexes or multifamily. We need to keep the area the way it is, in my opinion, single-family dwellings. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Next speaker.
My name is John Haney, 1010 North Liberty Street, Liberty Park Estates. I wanted to address the part of the traffic that nobody has yet is 135th Street is 2-lane. I just heard last night there is a plan to make it 3-lane with the left turn lane in it, which would certainly help. But other than that, you have 13th to the north is 2-lane. 135th is 2-lane at the moment, all the way to Kellogg. 119th is 2-lane all the way from, Kellogg up, well, actually from Maple up. I just don't see, Central is the only 4-lane road away from this neighborhood, like towards town, for, commuters to go to work. I just don't see that being enough to handle the traffic. The stop sign, or at Central and 135th is a 4-way stop, and 13th and 135th is also a 4-way stop. It's just going to get piled up real big. It's already it's not a huge struggle to get out of my neighborhood and every morning, but I might be 4 cars deep, which isn't a lot. But the addition of all those houses is going to easily triple the amount of cars going up and down that road. I have some information from KDOT's website. This is actually 2018 data, and it shows on the north side of Central on 135th, almost 5,400 cars per day. I see that going to 15,000, which is equal to like on Mays Road intersections. And those are pretty much all 4-lane, all 4 directions. So I just don't think that's going to work unless there's a plan to change all that and put in full stoplights on 135th, at 13th, and Central.
Yeah, if you've lived west, you've seen this thing happen in the Maze area, and so the traffic studies follow the housing and
Yeah, I
it's
used to live
handled
at
as you go
13th and
forward.
Ridge Road almost 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I know the traffic area very well in this area.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. The next speaker, please. And if there's others of you, it's okay to start moving that direction too. That's fine.
Hello, my name is Richard Rowe. I live at 12921 West Harvest Court. I live right there. I have a swimming pool in my backyard. I have the most beautiful landscaping. You're planning on putting low single-family homes. In the flood of October 1998, this field was completely underwater. This was flooded. There's a ridge that runs along here. It runs this way. There's a storm sewer that runs along here that dumps into the Cowskin Creek. It took 2 days of drainage for that water to go through that storm sewer to get down to the Cowskin Creek. To the north, this entire area was marooned. It was an island.
And that's why, sir,
It
they
was
will.
flooded across here. It was flooded across 13th. You're going to have thousands of people that are going to be trapped with no access to fire, ambulance, police, and now you're going to add 4,000 more people to that.
As mentioned, the aspect of plating, if this reaches that stage, would require a complete drainage plan, and that history will certainly be in consideration as it's determined what happens, and often adjacent neighborhoods see an improvement in drainage as a result.
Well, I want to guarantee that if my house floods or my swimming pool floods, that the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County is going to be liable for it. Because you're going to add thousands of houses to the floodplain that are going to flood every time you have a major flood in Wichita.
That's why the drainage plan is a very important part of the plating process.
So,
But your concerns have been voiced, and we've heard that from others, so I know it will be addressed. Thank you.
Rick Whiteside, 1302 North Hickory Creek Court. The only thing I want to address, since it's not been talked about, just briefly, he was talking about using the housing, single-family dwellings as a barrier between the deals. When we moved in, we turned around, they increased on 13th Street, traffic. We paid for a fence to go along there, privacy fence, 6 foot tall, big barrier. I would say that that'd be required also on that, between our neighborhood and the new neighborhood over there, at the minimum. They keep the traffic and everything else, but also unwanted traffic, foot traffic and stuff coming across into the our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Bobby Bribieska, and I live at 1365 Hickory Creek Court. I've been there over 23 years, and the biggest crime we have at Hickory Creek is somebody throwing a McDonald's cup on the street, because there is no crime. And I like to see it that way. Look at here. Will my house the value go down? When I go to be with the Lord, I want my kids to have something. That's your dream, right? It's an investment. You want your home to go up, not down. And maybe somebody can tell me, what is the estimate of these new homes? Are they going to be high? Because of the low. See, we don't want that. We don't want it. We want a nice, safe neighborhood. And I don't envy you, Chairman. You got a hard decision. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Dwayne Bosley, 12906 West Harvest Lane, Hickory Creek. I won't touch upon, home values decreasing, but I do agree with Mr. Brivieska. We do not have crime in that area, very low crime, but I can attest to a certain incident where I found a person in my garage, and it comes near and dear when it became physical. I don't want to see any crime escalate any further than, going forward. So I would please attest that we keep it single-family homes, homes where people have a vested interest within their home, not renting on a certain period of time and could be out of there with an increase of payment or loss of payment. So thank you.
No, the number one reason for a safe neighborhood? Having a nosy Nelly. Does anyone have a nosy Nelly? Pays attention who's there, what they're doing, and why. Somebody who cares. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Linda Stanback. I live at 14302 West Taylor Circle, and I live adjacent to Central. My thing on this is if I look around and I see all these individuals in all the neighborhoods that surround these additions, I question why aren't our opinions pretty much valued? There's companies coming in, they don't have any vested interest, they don't live there. They're coming in to make money, obviously. Well, the rest of us have our homes, they're single family. We take good care of our properties. We enjoy our properties. And if we don't want that next door, it'd be like if we were out in the country and they wanted to put hogs next door to our farm. But we don't want that in our neighborhood. So if there's over 100 petitions to not do this, how come companies should have priority over individuals who live in the areas?
Thank you for your concern. Any other speakers? Okay, go ahead. And I really appreciate that you're all identifying a core issue and not repeating. We do appreciate that greatly.
Hi, my name is Connie Presley. I live at 13127 West Harvest Court. In addition to everything that's already been spoken of, I'm not familiar with all the terms that's used when it comes to building and everything, but I do think it's interesting that Mr. Ferris has referred to the single-family homes as a barrier. Why do we need a barrier for something they're going to put in for us? That's concerning. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any additional speakers? Is there anyone participating virtually who would like to speak on this item? Can somebody read for me if that?
Yes, this is.
Okay, your name and address?
I would like to speak.
Can you give your name and address, please? I believe we have two people. The first sounded like a gentleman to me. Could you give us your name and address and then proceed with your comments, please?
My name is Greg Golick. I live at 917 North Firefly. That's the property just east of the rezoning property. One request I have is that the zoning commission send out minutes to this meeting to all the people that were notified by mail, so that we all can see because a lot of us are traveling during the holiday seasons. I'm sitting in Missouri, unable to come to the meeting, and I really didn't get to hear all the what was discussed today.
Okay.
And the other request is that if this goes through, I really would like to have some type of buffer between us and the other community, like a greenway, possibly 500 feet all the way around the property that would be zoned for like a park or nature reserve or something, so that the two communities don't end up clashing with each other.
Okay.
That's it.
I believe that the minutes of this meeting will be posted to the MAPC website, and everybody who has registered as a participant will receive follow-up feedback about the next actions and information. So thanks for your question and comment. Next speaker online. There was a
I
female.
would like to speak.
Go ahead.
Kate Blair. I'm at 705 North Firefly in Castlegate. And I take exception to the statement that was made early on about the ownership of the properties. He spoke of twin homes. He spoke of one owner owning the building. What he didn't talk about and was not transparent about, those are duplexes. Those are not twin homes. And you get involved with investors, which that word not being used, investors have a whole different perspective than do true homeowners who do take care of their properties. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. Additional virtual speakers? Hearing none, I will call the applicant's agent back to the podium to, you have 2 minutes to respond to the issues that you've heard.
I'll try to get that done in 2 minutes, Madam Chairman. First of all, I think there's a couple things that were said that really just were total misstatements. There will not be thousands of houses or whatever built here. If you look at what the zoning allows, what we're proposing is about 350 to 400 duplexes instead of 200 to 300 single-family homes, which would be allowed. And then on the multifamily site, it's a little harder to figure. It's probably closer to 300 to 400 units based on what's allowed with the restrictions of the floodplain and those things. So the fact that we're going to pump thousands, I think I heard the number 5,000 or 7,000 people into this area is just not even true. It's slightly more than if we were doing single family. The density that we're proposing is actually not much greater than is allowed in single family. Gentleman asked what the value of these were. Part of the problem is neither one of my sons want to own a house. They want to live somewhere where somebody comes and cuts their grass, they take care of everything. That is where we are going, whether we like it or not. We all own our single family homes and love them. My son will not have a single family home. He wants to live where they take care of it. And there's a market that is being developed for that. They both do quite well, and they're able to rent higher end places. These will rent for between $1,500 and $2,000 a side for the rental. They will be owned by a company that will manage, maintain, and make sure that these are taken care of. So that's a little bit of a misnomer. That we're going to have all this traffic, all of these things. I think the crime issue is also one that is a bit of a misnomer. Nobody moves into and pays that type of rents and doesn't expect security and safety. We will have our own security and safety to make sure we'll have our own Nellies watching but they will be actual professionals. So that's where I can't go through in 2 minutes everything that was said, but I think it's important to understand we're not developing thousands of places here. Be glad to answer any questions.
You want to speak to the barrier versus buffer? I think there was a little confusion
It is.
about
we consider
your plan for single family around the perimeter.
Single family home buffer, barrier, whatever you want to call it. It's a row of single family homes that are adjacent to single family homes. The idea was, we could have tried to rezone the whole thing, but the idea was, hey, let's be as good a neighbors as we possibly can. I understand nobody wants anything but what is already there. This property is not developed single family, and it's had many opportunities, and the reason is there's not as much usable land as there would be if you were going to buy that much ground. So it needs to be a little bit denser than a single family area. But in an effort to make it as least objectionable as possible, we figured if we have single family on our property that we have to market, that shows a good faith that we're going to be able to do things on our property that satisfy the people that we're developing the single family for. So it's a buffer, but it also is a barrier separation. So barrier means separation. That's what the idea is. It's a separation from the TF3.
Other questions for Greg from the commission at this point? Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I'll start.
Mr. Nix, our maze guy.
Yeah, I'm a maze guy. I mean, I've lived, farmed, worked within a few miles of this property. So, yeah, I'll be careful. First of all, I mean, I think we have to respect the owner's right to sell their property. I mean, the Alberts have been there probably since the beginning of time. I don't really know. But it is their property. They do have the right to do that. That's the first thing. I'm not crazy about the way this is proposed to be developed. I don't personally think that it's compatible with the adjoining neighborhoods. I don't believe a lot of what's been said with regard to traffic and, I mean, not traffic, but crime and some of those sorts of things. I mean, we're in the world we expect our teachers to live and our firemen to live and the people that work up and down the retail, up and down Mays Road, and half the people that are divorced and our kids that don't want to live in a single family house. Where are they supposed to live? Where are they supposed to go? I mean, so there needs to be a housing for everyone. And I just don't understand how we can be so divided. I mean, this would be like somebody that lives in a mobile home. We don't want to build a duplex next to a mobile home. People, you know, for fear that people in mobile homes, we're going to come over and steal everything in a duplex. And it just works its way up. I mean, it's distasteful to me. But at the same time, I understand everybody's feelings on this particular piece of property. I've driven by this thing thousands of times. And I have kids that live in Bay Country. I have friends that live in almost all these developments. And I know that people don't want to have something that's more concentrated and more developed, highly developed. But I don't also agree with all the comments that have been made, particularly with crime and the kinds of people that live in this kind of housing. I mean, look around. I don't mean to preach to everyone, but that's not right. It's the kind of things that divide us. So I don't know how I'm going to vote on this. It really causes me a lot of consternation as one person on this board that usually is quiet and tries to be thoughtful. Anyway, those are the comments I have.
Mr. Johnson?
I got several comments. One of them has to do with my age. When I was the age of some of these people that spoke, I probably felt more like them. Today, at my age, I understand the possibility of somebody taking care of someplace where I can live, and I'm not being in an old folks' home or whatever. That's number one. Apparently, something was said about a lot of duplexes being built all around there. That must be telling us something. There must be markable. We need them. So that's one thing. So I think the duplex, especially high-end stuff that's going to be controlled and taken care of, I think is a good deal. Somebody said if you wanted to live in the country, what do you feel like having a hog farm next to you? Well, I live in the country and I got a turkey farm. Been there 30 years. So they don't give me much trouble and I don't give them much trouble. The other thing is, I think Mr. McKay and I have been the longest guys on this commission. A number of years ago, we had a I don't remember what it's called, West Side Commercial Development Plan that we tried to develop. And we went to all kinds of town hall meetings. And I'll never, ever forget the last meeting we had. Mrs. Neville got up and stated, If we had not sold any of our farm on the west side of Wichita, none of you people would be here. And that's a fact. If none of this property was sold when it was back farm ground or whatever, none of you'd be there. So, I mean, we got to go on and look forward. So I'm going to support the project.
Commissioner Warren.
I appreciate Mr. Nitz's comments because I've spent about a little over half of my adult life living in duplexes. I don't live in a duplex now, but I live within about 150 foot of a duplex across the street in my neighborhood. It's a great looking house, and it's well taken care of, and they rent. So I don't know why duplex became a dirty word. Somehow they're lesser than us, and I take offense to that. This buffer of single-family homes, I think, was a brilliant idea, because what you're going to see when you go down the street is single-family homes. And then I believe there's going to be some nice-looking duplexes in the middle of that is going to be affordable. But affordable these days is $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month and higher. And those are being rented up as fast as they can be put together. So I don't believe that the crime is going to be a problem. I don't believe that property values is going to be a problem if this goes through. And I will support it, and I will make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Motion from Commissioner Warren, a second from Commissioner Green. Further discussion? Commissioner Blick?
Yes, I'd like to say something.
Okay, I have Commissioner Blick and then Commissioner Cunningham.
I definitely appreciate everybody for coming out. I know that how frustrating it is when you see stuff that's growing. You got a beautiful field out there and you get to see deer and everything else in farmland. And then all of a sudden you see development come around. Every single addition moving down through over in the subdivision, we have if there's farmland, we'll have that subdivision. And after that one's built, we have the next one coming, and every single person comes and gives their complaints and says, I want to lose my farmland. I don't want to lose my view. The great thing is half these commissioners are on a subdivision meeting. And during that subdivision, that's where we get through the flooding concerns, the fire access, the layouts, the landscape buffers. That's where all of your voices are being heard today, and we're going to carry that on to the subdivision if this passes. And this is where we get into the meats and potatoes, and they say exactly, this is what you guys want. So I definitely appreciate everybody for coming out and letting your voice be heard. And I think that, with future growth, it's one of those things. When you have farmland that's beside a subdivision, eventually it's going to be developed. It's just, if you look at from West Wichita, from Hoover Road all the way out, that's how it's been for the last 20 years. If there's farmland, it's going to be a subdivision. And from there, it just keeps building all the way out. And we're pretty much all the way out from West Wichita to East Wichita. Eventually, the growth is going to go north and south, hopefully. But I definitely appreciate you guys for coming out and letting your voice be heard.
Other comments from the commission at this time? Ms. Cunningham, please go forward.
Okay, thanks. Well, this is the first time that I've seen an entire quarter section, because I started in February. And so I have some trepidation about turning over so much of it, and so much of it to be duplexes. The duplex designs really are concerning to me because of the no front porch. Like a lot of you, I have 4 grandkids out in May's area. 2 of them and their mom and dad live in a duplex with a side door. Nobody knew anybody on the whole block. There was no neighborly feeling at all. And then all of a sudden, all 4 of them, 8 families moved out, and an investor bought them all, and they were all evicted. All 6 families, I guess. But anyway, these things get built, and people's property values do go up. Being a realtor, I know that this vacant land is not as valuable as it will be when it's built. So this is a real complicated issue. I don't think that that it's appropriate for, it doesn't match the character of the area. So I'm really conflicted. I'll be interested to see how this goes. And I do thank everybody for coming in. I know it's difficult. And I think we have a lot of opposition. So we have enough on the golden rules to deny if we wanted to. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure how I'm going to go on this one. Thank you.
Other comments from commissioners before we proceed with the vote? Mr. Ferris, do you have other developments similar to the TF3s that you're planning here that are already developed in Wichita? And what I'm really looking for, has this company done this type of thing in Wichita already?
They've done this in Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Okay.
I don't believe that they've done any in
This is the
Wichita.
first in Wichita?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And for the
Any other-
neighbors, I'll try to find that answer out by Monday night.
Okay. This will be presented at the DAB 3 on Monday evening, which is another opportunity for you to go forward with your word. And I would like to ask staff, Philip, could you remind us of the protest petition rules? So this group is fully aware, whichever way the vote goes, what your next steps could be.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This comment is specific since I got notified from other staff that protest petitions have already been submitted. And I just want to say it's behooving to those who are involved in this. It's a very particular rule, but technically the protest period does not start until tomorrow. So anything we have received from today, anything that has been turned into the county clerk's office today is technically invalid. And so I just wanted to bring that up since we were notified it by now, to give those who are looking to protest this case the opportunity to have their protest be effective and to be valid. And so if that applies to any of you, thank you for exercising your right to do so. The protest petition period begins tomorrow and runs through 5 p.m. on January 19th. So again, I didn't want it to be lost just on a technicality. It seems potentially like a silly technicality, but it's a technicality nonetheless.
Okay.
Dan, this is Joe.
We have not voted yet.
And?
Yes, I'm sorry, we've stopped the public comment, and this isn't a conversation at this point. Mr. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, and this is in the county, right?
No.
It's currently in the county. The property to the west of it has been annexed. This property will be annexed if and only if this is approved. If the rezoning is
This has to
approved.
be heard by the county no matter what we do.
Pardon me? Yes, you're correct.
This has to be heard.
That is
by the
correct.
county
The board-
commission. There's no protest required.
The Board of County Commission will weigh on this. The protest petitions that will be received during the protest period, depending on the amount of them, could affect the vote of the Board of County Commission at that meeting, which the follow-up letter from today's meeting, if you've signed up to receive it, will have the date and time of the Board of County Commission meeting for this item.
Is anybody interested in deferring this until after the district meeting?
I think that sounds like a good idea.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, and I think that negates the comments we've heard. Is that accurate? Okay, so we have a motion and second on the floor.
Can we make an amendment?
Commissioner Williams Bay, and then
I have one question, Philip. The people that already have submitted request for denial, have they been, and it's invalid, will they be notified that they're invalid?
When we get those into our office, if contact information is provided on the form, we do contact them.
and then I had on virtual commissioner, did you have a comment or question, Joe?
Yes, I made a substitute motion to defer for 2 weeks.
I'll second it.
I have a substitute motion to defer the topic for 2 weeks, and a second substitute motion from Joe Johnson, and a second from Commissioner Cunningham. Commissioner Duell?
Yes, with regard to it going to the DAB before we vote on it, we frequently run across cases where this does not match up, and I know the city is working towards that, but right now, this is not an unusual situation.
Right. And the DAB information is provided to the county commission, which would be the next step. Okay.
Yeah, and the planning commission is an autonomous board in the sense that we make decisions for council meetings. Our council members, our commissioners take our opinions. They also take the opinions of the DABs, and they are two separate entities that provide guidance and direction for our electeds. And so to say that we need to, or think that we need to have the DAB opinions, we really don't. It's informational for us, but it's not something that we need to rely on to make our decisions.
The final decision will rest with the county commission, and they'll get the inputs of both, okay? I want to call the question on the substitute motion. Can we do this by voice? Viva voce, no, roll call.
Kirk
Roll
Sponsel,
call
Assistant
on
County
the,
Counselor.
I'm sorry?
Kirk Sponsel, Assistant
Yes,
County
sir.
Counselor. Just for clarification, both for the people in the audience today and for the commission, I believe the motion was to defer until after the DAB, but is it correct that it's actually going before a CAB?
That is correct. The technical
okay.
term is CAB, but effectively it's an
Will-
advisory board for this county
Will
district.
you accept the modification of your motion to CAB from DABs? This is a county advisory board, not district. Joe, will you accept that?
Yeah.
And Commissioner Cunningham, will you accept that modification for your second?
Yes.
Okay, then let's have a roll call vote. This is on deferral of the decision for 2 weeks to allow the CAB to occur first. So, roll call vote, please, JR.
For the substitute motion, Fox,
No.
Dual,
No.
McKay,
No.
Green,
No.
Bill Johnson,
No.
Blick,
No.
Nix,
No.
Foster,
No.
Warren,
No.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Hart, skip that,
Yes.
abstained, Cunningham,
Yes.
Williams Bay.
No.
Should be 10-2, one abstention.
10-2, one abstention. The substitute motion failed, 10-2 with one abstention. Now, the original motion, which was, we have a recorder in the midst, to approve from Commissioner Warren. Second was Commissioner Green. Yes, he dressed for me today. The tag team of Warren and Green. Do we need further discussion on the motion to approve? Then I will call the question again with a roll call vote.
Roll call for the original motion, Fox,
Yes.
Dual,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes. Yes.
Cunningham,
No.
Williams Bay.
Yes.
So that gives us
11,
11,
1, and one abstention. Mr. Hartman.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes the business portion of this agenda. We will be changing our platform from GoToMeetings to Zoom next time. So if you participate virtually, you may want to kind of look ahead if you have the right software downloaded. The instructions will come with your meeting and agenda, but just bringing your attention to that. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Yeah.
Hey, no.
I want to tell you.